What up, everybody? Good morning and a very happy Tuesday to you all. January 27th. DK Show coming to you from that TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us, whether you're listening on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available to stream up at our website at sportstalk1051.com. You got the Wisco Sports App. Download that. Take it on the go. Just tell your Alexa device to say, yo, Alexa, play at WAYY YouTube video stream. Also up and rolling here this morning. Shoe Doctor's bullpen line up and rolling as well if you want to participate with the program for the next few hours and such. What do we have on our game plan for us this morning? What do we have? We've got, we're going to talk some football. We got some updates right now with position coach. I don't know why I just blanked on the term position. A couple position coaches reportedly leaving Green Bay to go follow Jeff Hafley. No surprise there, right? But Ryan Downard, who coached the safeties with the Packers, he is moving on, and no big surprise here. The linebackers coach Sean Dugan also moving up to Miami to follow Jeff Hafley. He had followed Jeff Hafley from Boston College over to Green Bay. So as of right now, probably not good. There's probably going to be a few more. There's probably going to be probably more than a few more, either on the offensive side or on the defensive side. But those are the first two that kind of have been out there. And there was a report, too, that Hafley and LaFleur actually met on Sunday to kind of go over the position coaches, which, probably going through, hey, it's almost like maybe your fantasy football drafts or a fantasy draft. Hey, can I take this guy? No, but you can have this guy, kind of maybe a little bit of a negotiation back and forth and such. But, good on both those parts. Hafley, or I should say LaFleur probably didn't want Hafley to poach everybody and such, but we'll see if there's going to be any more coming up throughout this week and such, but don't be surprised if there happens to be. So, but we'll go through that. I do want to talk some special teams here today too, because there's some interesting numbers here and stats and such, and a lot of it. So we've explained before what EPA means, but I want to go through it again because there's some eye-popping special teams numbers when it comes to the Packers and their EPA. EPA, again, is expected points added. Okay, it's an advanced statistic. It measures the value of a play by calculating how much it changes a team's expected points for a drive based on down, distance, field position, time remaining, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, for example, let's say, a 5-yard gain on 3rd and 4th has a higher EPA than a 5-yard gain on 1st and 10 because it directly increases the probability of scoring by sustaining that drive. Don't ask me how these math people figured out this formula, but it's a number, it's a statistic, analytic that is gaining a little bit in popularity and such. And I saw this out there with regards to the Packers special teams. And we knew they weren't great, right? I mean, that ain't breaking any news or anything like that. But you're talking about over the past few years, it has been really bad. And they're right next to the 49ers and the Rams, which, what's in common over there? You got a little Kyle Shanahan, you got a little Sean McVay mixed in there too. So it's like, is that a philosophy thing? Is it team? I mean, essentially what I want to get to into a conversation with you all is when you look at the special teams issues that Green Bay has had over the last few years, let's say. I mean, heck, you can even go to some of the issues, Mike McCarthy era, right? So, when you look at it, is it special teams coaches? Is it the coordinators? Or do you think it's the players, the talents that's on there? I mean, Green Bay, if we look at EPA, special teams compared to everyone else in the 2020s, playoffs included in this thing, second to last. Negative 165.81. The only team worse than them is the Rams. Compared to the top team, Seattle is plus 157.05. You're talking about, double, near little over double. Yikes. So kind of an informal poll question, and I want to get your takes on it. So hit me up with some messages and such. Do you put the blame more so on maybe the team not investing as much into special teams player-wise? Or do you go to the coordinators? Because it's not like they've been holding on to a special teams coordinator, for double-digit years and such. It's been a constant theme. So do you think it's more of a player and a franchise thing, not really investing a whole lot into special teams? What side are you on? What side are you on? All right. So I want to hit that up throughout this morning. Also, let's going to talk some Brewers. Kind of another informal poll question I want to get your thoughts on as well. But, as we get closer to pitchers and catchers reporting and such, by the way, yesterday, Brewers, we got to hear a little bit from the new prospects or new players with Williams and Sproat and such. But Jacob Izarowski, okay? I want to hit up that topic here for a little bit. What are your – because the Miz is such I think, an interesting player heading into this year. And haven't really talked a whole lot about what the expectation should be for the Miz coming into this season. Kind of a crazy whirlwind rookie year for him. Came on the scene with a bang. Makes the All-Star team. And then, once season starts to wind down, regular season, it's like, okay, is he going to be a starter in the postseason? What's he going to – came out of the bullpen, but then kind of like resurrected, like was awesome in the postseason, right? Coming out of the pen in long relief. And he's going to continue to be a starter. But what should a realistic expectation be for Mizarowski heading into essentially year 2 here at the pro level? Because Biz, we were talking about last year when he was brought up, it's like, okay, how many innings? They were kind of very careful with his innings and, how hard he throws in that. And just they were very, very cognizant of that. And we saw the up and downs and such. And just in my opinion, I felt like he was a player that probably just needed to catch his breath because once he made the major leagues, it was such a hold on to your butts sort of thing for him because he was just all over the place. I mean, the media, the matchups between him and Skeens and Clayton Kershaw were drawing national attention and such, but it was like, whoo, he just needed to maybe catch his breath. And then postseason, he was pretty darn good. So what do you think is that expectation, or what should that expectation be? Because you look at this staff outside of Brandon Woodruff. I mean, you got guys less than 2 years service on there that are going to be counted upon to fill out that roster. If they don't make any more free agent signings, if they don't bring back a veteran like a Quintana or something, there's going to be a lot of young pitchers. And I think when you look at it, okay, Quinn Priester started a lot last year too, but in terms of potential, Miz is at the top. So where are you setting that bar as a fan? Are you setting that bar as okay, dude's got to be number one. He's got to be an all-star this year. I'm expecting, 15 wins out of the guy. Or where's your kind of confidence or your vibe when it comes to the Miz, to Jacob Mizarowski? So let's kind of start to talk some more Brewers as we get closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting and spring training and such. We'll throw some hoops chat in here. Update on Giannis and the Bucks. Might as well call him Dr. Giannis. He correctly diagnosed it. It's a calf strain. Doc Rivers yesterday saying they're not going to put timeline on it, but I think we can kind of gauge it's going to be a few weeks at least. So that obviously affects the decision of what the Bucks are going to do with the trade deadline coming up next week. Now, you got some like Marcus Spears from ESPN who thinks Giannis will never wear a Bucks uniform again. I don't know if I'd go that far to that take. I don't. Right now, I'd probably say no. I'm not going to go that far. But again, he was making the case, Bucks, kind of taking it now for the rest of the year and maybe getting a higher pick and such. But I am very, very, very curious how the Bucks approach this next week or so. And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday towards the end, but if you were John Horst, if you were the Milwaukee Bucks, and, the trade deadline's next week, Giannis is going to be out, let's just say 4 to 6 weeks. You're not in the playoffs right now. You're not even in the play-in game right now. How do you approach the rest of this season? So I know a couple of you yesterday towards the end said, trade him. Time to move on. But how do you approach this? Put yourself in that general manager's shoes. Try to take the fan part out of it because, the fan part, I think it's pretty easy for a lot of us. I want Giannis to be there, but is that necessarily the best in terms of the future? We'll hit that up a little bit. We're going to talk some Badgers with Mr. RJ Cardinal. He'll be coming up in a couple hours from now. Badgers are going to be taking on the Gophers for basketball tomorrow and such, trying to rebound from a loss to USC over the weekend. So we'll chat some Badgers. Also, it is a ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. So what is grinding your gears? Let us know. All right, get it off your chest. Best ones I'll read on the air. Also, it's the Hy-Vee Gamechanger. So in the past week or so, what was a play, what was the player, or what was the moment that you thought was a game changer? All right, send those out. Again, it does not have to be the best play. It does not have to be the best player. But what is your game changer of the week? So we'll dabble into a little bit of everything here this morning. That's your game plan. Let's get rocking and rolling. We'll take our first break, and we'll get things going here with the leadoff coming up after these quick words. When it comes time to shop, make it easy. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire's got you covered, from fresh produce and bakery favorites to pantry staples, household items, and everyday essentials. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire makes it simple to get everything that you need in one stop. With friendly service, great selection, and helpful local teams ready to assist, shopping's always convenient. Shop in-store or online. Use curbside pickup or delivery and save time every week. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. All right. Let's get things going here this morning, shall we? So we'll open it up talking a little green and gold, because we've got a couple of Packers position coaches to kind of take a look at that are reportedly leaving. One of them is Ryan Downer, the defensive backs coach. Now, Ryan Downer has actually been with the team since 2019. First started with the Mike Pettin era. Or first of all, I should say, Mike Pettin was there a little bit beforehand too. So 2019, never mind. Back up. He was 2018. So as a defensive quality control coach, so he was there with Mike McCarthy for a hot minute. So he's been around for a little bit, but he is. Those who follow this or around this team every single day and such, very high on Ryan Downer. And from all indications, this will be a big loss for Green Bay with their defense. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, look at the job he did with Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine and Nate Hobbs this year. Okay. Those are a couple. But he also has worked well with Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard. He was there when, Jair Alexander got there. So, I mean, for every couple of poor players and such, I feel like that's one thing, too, is we, as a lot of fans will look at, coaches and such would say, well, look at, these players and look at it from the negative, or the players who didn't play that well. But where's the positives, too? For every negative, there's probably going to be some positives, too, if that's, the arguments we're going to make. So, I mean, for every Keyshawn Nixon or Carrington Valentine, there is an Evan Williams, there is a Javon Bullard, et cetera, et cetera. So, but from those who know more than I do and such, and who are with the team every single day, a lot of them say this is going to be a loss for Green Bay. So, and then probably the one that's no big surprise when you look at it in terms of coaches who are reportedly going to follow Jeff Hafley to Miami is Sean Dugan. This was reported by Tom Silverstein, but he followed Jeff Hafley from Boston College. Originally came over as an assistant linebackers coach, promoted to linebackers coach after Anthony Campanelli left to take the defensive coordinator job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So those are the two that have been reported thus far. Apparently, LaFleur and Hafley had met on Sunday to kind of go over the position coaches and maybe come to an agreement on who Hafley would take or ask to take and such. That way, wasn't maybe keeping or draining the well, if you will. And I know there's going to be some fans that'll say take them all and just kind of restart all over, but that's not going to be the case here. So, but other than that, it kind of feels like, and I know Rob Demotsky kind of said that, the feeling right now is that Rich Bisaccia is probably going to be back in Green Bay, and that he said, the thoughts about Bisaccia in the building are completely different than what fans' perspectives are and such. And, I was looking at special teams numbers, and I was kind of talking a little bit about it earlier, but when you look at EPA. So again, EPA, if you missed it, we've talked a lot about EPA in the last couple of years. It is an analytic, it is a number, it is a stat, however you want to describe it, that is gained in popularity quite a bit in terms of football and such. And what it is an advanced statistic that measures the value of a play by calculating how much it changes a team's expected points for a drive based on down, distance, field position, and time remaining. So, for example, okay, we'll make it simple because KISS, keep it simple, stupid. When it comes to math, especially for me, we need to keep it as simple as possible. It's like Michael Scott from The Office. Explain this to me like I'm 5 years old right now. So, a 5-yard gain on 3rd and 4th has a higher EPA than a 5-yard gain on 1st and 10. Why? Because it directly increases the probability of scoring because you are sustaining the drive. All right, so that's a very basic explanation of EPA. I could give you the formula. It's calculations and such, but I think for this one, it doesn't really matter at this point. Essentially, it's to evaluate the efficiency, okay, of offenses, of quarterbacks, of defenses, and in this case that we're going to look at is special teams, the efficiency of special teams. So this goes back throughout the 2020s, okay, and give credit to where credit's due. If you got Twitter, you got X, you can look this up. It's Anthony DeBundo, who apparently works for Ringer, Spotify, Action Network, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he had a thread on here about, and he posted it all up if you want to take a look at how the rankings are at, the EPA in terms of special teams for the 2020s. The top team is the Seattle Seahawks, 157.05. The worst team is the Los Angeles Rams at 175.71. Green Bay, second worst team, 165.81. And then the third worst team is the 49ers, negative 86.83. 3 head coaches. Now, I don't know if there's any parallels to this, but you look at the 3 head coaches. It's McVay, it's LaFleur, and it's Kyle Shanahan. Is there any coincidence, or is it just happy circumstance? But I will say the difference between Green Bay, which is at 31, and San Francisco, again, I mean, it's double. So even though San Francisco's right there, Green Bay is like double what San Francisco has. These are awful. These are awful numbers when it comes to special teams, efficiency and such. So, and I mean, we can go even pre-LaFleur. You look at a lot of the Mike McCarthy era, what was a big frustration for a lot of Packers fans? It was special teams, whether it was Ron Zook or anybody that was, it just, they had issues across the board. Sean Slocum, remember that? Issues across the board. So it's not just LaFleur if you look at it. You can look at a lot of the numbers from Mike McCarthy too. So the question I have that I want to throw out to everybody is, knowing, this team has gone through a boatload of special teams coordinators throughout the years for a very long time. Is it the coordinators? Or is it the front office not providing the proper players? Is it, a mindset? Is it a philosophy sort of thing? What is it? I would be curious to know, and I don't think we'll ever find out the true answer to this. But, I would love to pull, let's say, Goody to the side and maybe LaFleur to the side, and, maybe we run into him, at the bar and buy him a couple brewskis and then just kind of say, okay, give me the real lowdown on special teams. Is this something you guys really prioritize? Is this something that you guys really focus on? And how much time do you actually practice it? You could go to training camp and watch practices and such, and we'll see a little bit of it. But behind the scenes and such, the meeting rooms, the film sessions, all that stuff, how much of an emphasis is it from a coaching standpoint? How much, on the tier level of priorities is it? That will never, because, I mean, you straight up ask them in a presser, they're going to say it's a huge priority. Or it is a top priority. But I want to know the truth. I want to put them up to a lie detecting machine, a polygraph, and actually know is that. Because, honestly, the truth is probably in the middle. I think it's a combination of the direction of the coaching staff, the philosophy within the organization, and I also think it's the talent or the players that are out there on the field. The honest answer is probably a little bit of both. But I would really, we can sit here and speculate, but nobody really knows. What is the emphasis? How high on the priority chart is it within this organization? Because, again, seeing a lot of people that know more about this or are around the team every single day, they kind of tend towards it's not the coordinator, it's the talent, it's the players on the roster and such, or the lack of dedication. I don't know if that's the right word, that might be, but the lack of resources that the coordinators and the coaches are getting from the front office. That seems to be the opinion of reporters and writers who are around the team every single day, that it's not necessarily Rich Bisaccia's fault. It's the players that they're throwing out there. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, the counter would be, well, then don't put those players out there. Maybe put starters out there. Yeah, a lot of teams do put starters out there. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Because I guarantee you, because that's the world that sports talk and debate is, you throw a starter out there on kick coverage or punt coverage, say a Edrin Cooper or Xavier McKinney or whatever it may be, you throw one of those guys out there and they end up tearing an ACL, what's going to happen for a lot of fans? They're going to sit there and they're going to complain, why was so-and-so playing on special teams? It's clockwork. It's going to happen. So that's kind of I don't know if that's exactly the thought process from the coaching staff and such. And we did get to see some of these starters. I mean, we saw Xavier McKinney towards the end on special teams. We've seen Evan Williams, on special teams and such. We have seen those guys out there for sure on coverages and that. But I this is just, again, my opinion. I feel like that maybe they don't necessarily want those primary players out there on special teams, because they don't want them to get hurt. I will say this, though, where I do fault the coaches in this, and I think it's strictly a coaching malpractice, the fact that Keyshawn Nixon was not out there as a returner, that is bogus. I get it. He wanted to be corner number one, and I get it. You were willing to put him in as a starter, but for crying out loud, you are taking an all-pro. Guy who won, all-pro twice as a returner, and saying, we're not going to put him back there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is coaching malpractice. Wherever that decision came from, the decision to say, hey, let's throw Romeo Dobbs back there as a punt returner. Or we're going to have, Emmanuel Wilson or whatever back there. What? I mean, they changed these kickoff rules to incorporate more returns. So why wouldn't you put an all-pro returner back out there? I don't care if he's a starting corner. Dion did it. I'm not comparing Keyshawn to Dion, but I'm comparing it to, hey, that guy did both. You had these players doing both. Why all of a sudden say, I don't want to be a kick returner anymore. I want to focus on being a corner. I'm sorry, Keyshawn, but it's not like you are a top-level corner, a Patrick Surtain or a Sauce Gardner, Gonzalez, whatever top corner we want to throw out there. They're not at that level. And what you do best for the team is returning kicks. And I'm sorry, but that's why you got a little bit of a bump in pay. And that's why my opinion, you've been sticking around here for a little bit. You're not a bum as a corner. I'm not saying that. You're not awful as, you're not the worst of the worst or anything like that. But you are not a top-tier corner, and you are an all-pro returner. I mean, I remember Charles Woodson during his free agency between like Packers and Tampa Bay and all that. What was one thing he wanted to do? He wanted to return punts. Charles Woodson wanted to return punts. What happened? Where a lot of these players now all of a sudden don't want to do that stuff. They don't want to get hurt. Maybe don't play football. I'm sorry. But if you don't want to get hurt, maybe don't play football. Special teams, I feel like it has gone, for some people, it almost feels like the sense. It's like, you play special teams, you must not be a good football player. It's like, what? Where's the pride in playing special teams? Where's the Matthew Slaters, the Travis Jervies, the Desmond Howard, those type of players? The pride in playing special teams and getting down there and making a big tackle or having a big return. I mean, yesterday was the 29 years since Green Bay won Super Bowl 31. What was a big reason why Green Bay got to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl? Desmond Howard, special teams. And I almost get the sense that it's becoming a thought or a mindset for some players. Like, no, I don't want to do that. That's for bad players and that. You used to have guys that said, I want to be a returner. Hall of Famers. And they weren't that long ago. Where's that mindset? I don't want that mindset. I want a mindset of like, okay, who was the other player just a few years ago? Oh, I'll even say this one. Donald Driver, for crying out loud. Donald Driver at the end of his career. Was it 2013 when he wasn't even getting activated to the roster and that? Remember that? And you had all those receivers. What did he do? What did he go ask Mike McCarthy to do? I'll play special teams. You had Donald Driver on coverage units at the end of his career. Guys like that. There was another player, and I'm blanking on it too, but he, this was during the Mike McCarthy era too, I think, where the team was just struggling on coverages, and he wanted to go out there and volunteered to go play coverage. And I'm blanking who that was off the top of my head, but maybe it was Woodson. I don't know, but I feel like there's that mindset, whether it's from the coaching standpoint or it's just the players in today's game. We got to get back to having that mindset. Go play special teams. I keep saying it, in spring or preseason and training camp. For the longest time, we always said, what's the best way for those bottom-end roster guys or those late-round rookies to make the team? You make it via special teams. And I feel like that is a mindset being lost. And we got to get back to that. Not this kind of entitlement from some players that's kind of give the impression that special teams is, I'm too good for special teams. Nobody's too good for special teams. Not when you're losing dang games because of special teams. All right, we'll take a quick break. Back with more coming up after these quick words. When it comes to great meat, go where the locals go. That's Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. From hand-cut steaks and fresh ground beef to quality roasts and specialty cuts, this is a true neighborhood meat shop and butcher shop that you can trust. Friendly service, expert cuts, and meat done right every single time. Stop by Mike's Star Market today at 2238 Heimstead Road in Eau Claire and taste the difference that a real butcher makes. Mike's Star Market, quality you can see, flavor that you can taste. Sir, well, first of all, before we get to survey, we have a few people with their grind my gears, and I guess I'm not surprised. I'll just kind of lump them all in one. We've got 5 people. We've got 5 people say what grinds my gears is people still complaining about the Packers not. I'm just summing this up. But essentially, we got about five texters that said what grinds my gears is that they're people complaining that the Packers didn't interview Jimmy Leonard. For crying out loud. You can blame the other teams like the Giants and now the Commanders for not interviewing him as well. Looks like just one that is upset that the Packers didn't interview Jimmy Leonard. So it's about 5-1. It looks like 5. I'm not trying to compare them to like that they're happy. I'm just saying like 5-1 essentially is the ratio where 5 say they're tired of fans still complaining about it, and 1 who's upset that they didn't interview Leonard. We've got surveyors saying special teams is the most pivotal part of football, yet the most overlooked. I believe that the coaches understand this and try to pound this into players' head, but it's up to the players to buy in. These guys for over a decade have been the best on their team by a mile, but now they're just another guy. I believe it's ego. You could coach and coach and coach, but it's up to the players to have that mindset to go out there and do their job. I believe that they feel they're demoted when they play special teams, and that mindset has to change. I would agree with that, surveyor. I agree with a lot of what you just said. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, depending on where they're coming from, but you're right. They may be starters on their college teams, or they may be pivotal players in their college teams. And then, you know, when was the last time they maybe played special teams? But I agree for whatever, you know, the mindset now for a lot of these guys is like, oh, I don't want to play special teams. And it kind of gets this negative connotation to it when really it shouldn't. So how does that change? Like you said, you know, coaches can implore it and try to hammer it home. But then it's up to play. Like you said, surveyor, they got to buy in. It's a different era. You know, throwing out the Deions and the Woodsons and those guys who wanted to be returners and wanted to do that. It's a different era. Don't have to like it, but I agree with a lot of what you said there, surveyor. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think a lot of it is player buy-in, and somehow and some players buy into that. Not all, but some do. Maybe it's some veterans who, you know, have been around the block for a little bit. They know maybe it's veterans that, hey, I know I'm not a starter, or I know how to kind of stay in this business. I know how to still be a player in this league for a long time. I know how to have a long career. And that's specialties. And maybe that's something that younger players don't realize, that they don't get, or they refuse to believe, or it just doesn't sink into them. You can make a long career in football if you are a really good we hear the special teams ace, right? You know, the Pro Bowl would bring in a special teams player to kind of highlight those guys and like, hey, this was a big-time player. Pro Bowl is now a joke. I'm sorry, but this is my grind my gears. Shedeur Sanders in the Pro Bowl. First of all, the Pro Bowl is a joke. It doesn't matter anymore. There used to be some integrity to that thing. Nobody gives a rip anymore. I really hope that Jordan Love was at least asked and said no, because if Shedeur was picked before Jordan Love, there's issues. There's big-time issues, and I should say big-time issues, but I think a lot of it was eyeballs. Hey, we bring in Shedeur Sanders, there's going to be some attention to our Pro Bowl activities, festivities, whatever the heck they're calling it these days. It's kind of similar to The Miz from the MLB All-Star game a little bit. But I would argue that The Miz was playing at a higher level than Shedeur. But I think it's a combination. At least I hope it's a combination of this, where guys were asked and they said no, and they had to keep going down the list. Shedeur also is going to draw some attention and some eyeballs. But Tony saying 100%. Bloomer Tony says 100% agree with Surveyor. In this era, playing special teams doesn't get you many swipe rights. So, all right, we got to take a quick break. Send us some more Grind My Gears Tuesday, our ASAP used auto parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Text those on over at 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. You can also hang out with Joe and company on the YouTube video stream. We'll take a quick break and already wrap up the first hour after these few words. When you need glass done right, trust the local experts at Post Glass and Mirror in Chippewa Falls. From residential and commercial glass to mirrors, windows, and custom solutions, they deliver quality craftsmanship and dependable service every single step of the way. Whether it's a repair, a replacement, or a custom project, Post Glass and Mirror has the experience that you could count on. Learn more or request service online by visiting postglassandmirror.com. Post Glass and Mirror, clear solutions, trusted results. Continue to send us your ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. We'll get to some more of those coming up past the top of the hour. Also, your Hy-Vee Game Changers. What was a play? What was a moment? What was or who was a player that was a game changer in the past week or so? Want to talk some Brewers coming up next hour. Where's kind of that bar? Where's that line that you are setting with Jacob Misiorowski? Where's that at? Like, what's your expectations or what's your goals for Jacob Misiorowski coming up this season? All right, give me your thoughts. Send them on over. I think, kind of an intriguing player for this Brewers team. Also, you're John Horst. You're the Bucks GM. You're the Bucks decision makers. Giannis is going to be missing a few weeks here. How do you approach the trade deadline? How do you approach the rest of the regular season? We'll hit all that up. Plus, we've got Badger Chat with Mr. RJ Cardinal coming up at about 8:20 this morning. Badger basketball is going to be back in action tomorrow. We'll talk some Badger hockey men's team. Game swept by Penn State. Micah Parsons in attendance, too. I'm sure if you have social media, you probably saw that all over the place here. So we'll talk some hoops, talk some hockey, maybe even throw a little football talk with Mr. Cardinal. Coming up a little over an hour from now, about 8:20 this morning. So we'll continue our Packers chat, kind of an informal poll question that we've thrown out there for everybody. When it comes to special teams, do you put most of the blame on the coaches? Do you put most of the blame on the players, maybe not buying in? Or do you put maybe the blame on the front office for not finding the right players? Kind of, I guess, three options for you to choose from. So you can send those on over. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Or again, you can comment on the YouTube video stream as well. So we'll get to those. I know we got a couple more saying what grinds my gears is Packers fans still wanting Jimmy Leonard. It's time to move on, says Jim and Matt on the texting line. So, all right, we've got a couple minutes left to the top of the hour here. So, Bucks, by the way, back in action tonight. They're going to be taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Tip time's at 7 p.m. We got 1 minute. We'll catch up with Morgan. Good morning, Morgan.
Well, good morning. I heard you talking about Giannis self-diagnosing his injury. I mean, he's had it enough. He probably knows what it feels like. Mm-hmm. Let's talk hypochondria. Do you know any hypochondriacs in your life that are constantly sick or doctor Googling?
Mm-hmm. Me.
Yep. That would have been my
severe.
answer, too.
Yep.
No, what's the latest ailment that's got you hitting the doctor Googles?
I've got a headache for the last few days.
Called work.
Yeah, that, but I feel like I have a tumor.
Oh, it's not a tumor, Casper. You'll be fine. Pop a couple Advil. You know what you probably need.
Yeah, but then I have like ibuprofen every day, so that doesn't go away. So
and then you're going to Google like the effects of too much ibuprofen, and then you get into kidney failure, and then it's like a whole thing. You should never Google your symptoms because it's instant death. Yeah. It's just like the skull and crossbones floats onto your computer screen, and it starts counting down the minutes you have left. Mm-hmm. It's bad for your mental health, man. You can't be Googling that.
Anxiety, hypochondriac, I'm everything.
You're the full package.
Yep.
What's the worst physical injury you've ever had? Have you broken a bone?
I've not broken a bone.
Have you pulled, what is it, a calf that Giannis has right now? Have you had one of those?
I've torn my quad.
It's pretty painful.
Yeah.
What's
the way I described it was like a hot baseball in your thigh.
Ooh.
That's what it felt like.
So, like, what's your worst physical injury that you've ever had?
The one that hurt the worst was probably when my thumb fingernail bent all the way backwards in gym class and they pushed it back down.
Ew, that sounds terrible.
Yeah. The only time I ever screamed at a doctor's office.
I believe it. That sounds absolutely.
Pushed it back down.
They should have just taken the thumb, man.
Maybe
the whole
hand. It
hand.
makes me cringe right now thinking about it.
Yeah, you make everybody cringe thinking about that.
Yeah, that one hurt.
That's like those ridiculous injuries that are always like paper cuts or hangnails that just inevitably hurt worse than anything else.
Right. So, all right. Thanks, Morgs.
Hey, try and make it through the day, buddy.
Yeah. All right. It's 1 hour in. We got 3 more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. All right, second hour, kick it off right now on this Tuesday morning. Thanks for hanging out with us here this morning and making us a part of your starts. We're going to talk some Brewers. And speaking of Brewers, don't forget to reserve your seat on the bus with WiscoTrips.com. You can head to either WiscoTrips.com or our website to reserve your tickets, to reserve your seat to the home opener in Milwaukee. Coming up, I got a cough here in a second. Excuse me, had to clear the throat there. The home opener taking on the Chicago White Sox. So if you go to our website, you'll see that icon right there, the Brewers opening day bus trip. Just click on that, and that if you get your tickets, you'll get a seat on a luxury motor coach transportation, a ticket to the Johnsonville party deck, and you get the tailgate party before the game from Premier Catering. All the info you need and to get your tickets is all at our website, sportstalk1051.com. You'll see that icon right there on the left-hand side, or you can head to wiscotrips.com. Just make sure you select the Eau Claire package. So, speaking of Brewers, the Miz, I want to talk a little bit about Jacob Misiorowski, okay? So, Jacob Misiorowski, we know just kind of how would you best describe his season last year, or the debut, or how year one of the Jacob Misiorowski experience? All over across just kind of wild. It was up and down. It was nuts, right? It was nuts. He finished his regular season 5-3 with a 4.36 ERA. He started 14 games, pitched in 15, pitched in 66 innings. Was named an All-Star. Rookie of the Year. Looks like he finished 11th in the voting. So obviously postseason. Well, first of all, he started the season off really awesome. Then you had the media putting him up against Paul Skeens and Clayton Kershaw and that. Then kind of trailed off a little bit. Didn't make wasn't a starter for the postseason team. Came out of the bullpen and such. But really, I think, kind of found that extra gear, kind of maybe settled down a little bit. And we saw just how awesome Misiorowski is again. He pitched in 3 games in the postseason, 2 of them against the Cubs. Ended up going 2-0 in those long relief appearances, too. 1.29 ERA, 7 innings pitched. And then pitched against the Dodgers. Did get charged with the loss in that one, but ERA 1.80. So 5 innings, gave up 1 earned run. Dude was electric in the postseason. Dude was electric at the beginning of the year. Kind of maybe fell off a little bit. I just felt like Misiorowski seemed like a dude that probably just needed to catch his breath a little bit, because it was like whirlwind to make your major league debut and such. So, what should the expectation, what should the goal be for Jacob Misiorowski heading into year 2? Because we've talked a lot about this team. We've talked about, Freddie Peralta's gone. Brandon Woodruff's the veteran leader of this staff. Outside of Brandon Woodruff, you got a lot of guys that are 2 years or less of experience on that pitching staff. Like, how big of a key is Jacob Misiorowski going to be for this Brewers team to get back to the postseason this year? Are they putting too much on his shoulders? Just the right amount? What's that expectation for Misiorowski heading into this year? What do you think? I'm looking at his projections on Baseball Reference. I'll be honest, I don't like the projections that Baseball Reference has for Jacob Misiorowski this year. And I feel like if these are the projections that he hits, I think you're going to have some maybe disappointed Brewers fans, and maybe some disappointed. Maybe the Brewers would be disappointed as well. But for Baseball Reference, his 2026 projection is 6-5, 4.05 ERA, couple saves, 91 innings pitched. You're talking about only 30 more innings pitched, a little less than 30. What was his innings pitched from last year again? Let me go back to it was 66, right? Yeah, 66. So I mean, you're talking less than 30 more innings this year. I don't. That to me, that would not be what I would have that line for Jacob Misiorowski. I'm not buying that one. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. I think it's got to. I mean, you got to be talking about 100+ innings for sure. I think that's the line you've got to start at, not under 100. Double-digit wins. I think double-digit wins. That should be something on there, right? Not 6-5 with a 4-something ERA. Yeesh, I'm not all about that one. I'm not about that one. I'll have to try to find some other ones, see if there's more out there, or maybe it might be just a skosh too early here. And who knows, they could be adjusted the closer we get to the season and such. But, I think everybody's still kind of, I shouldn't say everybody, but I think there's probably a good chunk of people, maybe some fans and such, that are just maybe waiting for the, as they would term it, the inevitable when it comes to Misiorowski, for as hard as he throws and his lanky frame. When's that Tommy John going to happen? You had a lot of fans talking about that last year, and I think that's going to be a thing until it actually happens. It almost seems like every pitcher now, if you haven't undergone a Tommy John surgery, it's like, what's wrong with you? Kind of almost type of feeling. So I don't know if I'll be honest, every time he takes them out, I'm going to think about something like that just for how hard he throws. And I know I'm not the only one that's going to be thinking about it. I hate to be thinking about that, but that's just kind of the reality of it. Like, the dude throws hard, and he's not the biggest dude out there. He puts a lot of strain and a lot of stress on that elbow and on that arm. But I think double-digit wins, and I want something at least in the 3s for ERA. Definitely over 100 innings. Definitely over 100 innings, assuming that there's no major injuries. Probably, odds are there's probably going to be a couple of IL stints. You hope that's not long-term ones, but, man, I don't like that Baseball Reference one for sure. Seabaum has sub-3 ERA, 14+ wins, no IL. I think that's supposed to be stints. Odds are at least 1 or 2 is probably going to happen. I know Freddie kind of spoiled us a lot with that. All right, on the flip side, what's Brandon Woodruff then for you? With Brandon Woodruff probably being the number one quote-unquote starter for this team, opening day starter, and with him making $20-some million this year, what's that projection for Brandon Woodruff? You want to know what Baseball Reference's projection is? You're not going to like it either. 7-4 with a 3.62 ERA, 92 innings. That's what Baseball Reference has for Brandon Woodruff. If you had to pick between Woody and Miz, between these two pitchers that should have a higher expectation heading into this year, is it the veteran Brandon Woodruff who's making all that cash? Or is it Jacob Misiorowski entering year 2, but dude's electric. Dude's awesome. Which one would you say should have more on their shoulders, a higher floor, a higher expectation? Woody or Miz? Because I feel like if we said who's got to be that top pitcher or who's going to be that top pitcher to help lead this ball club, those are probably going to be the 2 names at the top of the list. Or who's got the better shot to be the, quote, ace of the staff this year with Freddie gone? Woodruff's probably going to be the opening day starter, being the veteran. Who do you trust the most with the ball in their hands? We saw Misiorowski finish that postseason run. We know kind of what to expect from Brandon Woodruff. Or maybe who do you trust, not just for a game, but throughout the whole season. Maybe you're like, I love Woodruff, but I can't trust him because of the injuries and his ability to stay healthy. Or for Miz, you're like, hey, dude's electric, but he could be a little erratic, so I can't trust him. Give me the veteran. And then you got Quinn Priester, who finished 11th in the National League in wins, which I think kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit. He had 13 wins last year. One of the more surprising players on this roster. Think about that for a little bit and hit me up, all right? All right, let's take a quick break. Plenty more Brewers football talk. I'm going to chat some Bucks as well. You're John Horst. What do you do right now? You're the Bucks ownership group. What do you do right now? We'll dabble into that. It's coming up after these quick words. If you're thinking about new floors, there's one name that Chippewa Valley homeowners know, and that's Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. From soft, comfortable carpet to durable luxury vinyl, planks, and tile, Carpet City Flooring Center has flooring options designed for real homes and real life. Whether you're updating a single room, finishing a basement, or remodeling your entire home, their experienced team helps you find the right floor to match your style, your needs, and your budget. You'll get knowledgeable guidance, quality products, and professional installation all in one place. No confusing choices, no high-pressure sales, just honest advice and flooring that you'll feel good about for years to come. Visit Carpet City Flooring Center at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire and see the difference for yourself. When it's time to change your floors, starts with Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Joe also said about The Miz, I expect The Miz to be consistent. Don't expect him to be unstoppable. Just bought tickets for their June trip to Colorado, June 5th game. Keep those picks coming. We're not only now with Miz expectations and such, but what's like your Brandon Woodruff expectations as well? I mean, the guy's coming back. They got $20-some million invested into him this year, so what's kind of your expectation for both those dudes? All right. We'll get back to that in a little bit. I want to switch gears here and chat some hoops, because now with the latest injury, Giannis is going to be missing time for a few weeks. Doc Rivers yesterday wouldn't put a timetable on it, but it is a calf strain. So it probably, if we use Giannis's timeline, Dr. Giannis in this thing, if we use his timeline, it's 4 to 6 weeks. So probably a couple months here. Trade deadline is coming up next week. What do you do if you are the Milwaukee Bucks? Do you still try to scour the trades, the trade market, to try to find another, player that can help you at least get to the postseason, and then, when Giannis does come back, you pair him up? Or do you stay status quo? See where your pick lines up. Maybe you're in the lottery. Or do you move on from Giannis? Mark Spears from ESPN. He kind of, with the statement, said that he thinks that Giannis will not wear a Bucks uniform again. He said this yesterday on ESPN's NBA Today, quote, I think he's played his last game in a Bucks uniform. There's so much benefit for him not playing when you could make a trade for him now with Atlanta and get that generational piece, maybe the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick. You play him and they win, it pushes back their potential pick further. To me, it benefits to sit him. So this is tough. I don't think they're going to just sit Giannis for the rest of the year. I don't think that's because I don't think Giannis would agree to that. Then I think you would get a very vocal and frustrated Giannis at that point. If they said to him, you're done for the year. We're sitting you. We're not trading you, but you're done for the year. I don't think Giannis would be on board for that. I don't think they will trade him before the deadline either. I honestly feel like they're going to do these two options. One, they're going to stay status quo and see where it goes. And the other option is that they're going to still try to scour the trade market and try to add, quote, more talent. I feel like those are the two options that they're deciding between. Now, what would I do? I get the intrigue with those potential picks. I don't know if Giannis would buy into that. it obviously is a risk, too. It's an unknown. One, you don't know where your pick's going to be. Two, how those rookies are going to develop. Let's face it, Milwaukee hasn't been the greatest with first-round picks and getting players to be, contributors right away or solid contributors. It just hasn't worked out for them. Whether that's because of where they've drafted and never really, they had a Jabari Parker pick, but obviously injuries in that kind of really derailed that. It's tough. It's a tough situation to be in right now if you're John Horst, the Bucks general manager, and the Bucks ownership group. It is a very, very difficult spot to be in. Some will say it's easy because it's a blessing in disguise. You can sit him for 6 weeks, and maybe at that point when he does come back, you can have that conversation with Giannis to say, hey, look, Giannis, we're a few games behind the play-in. It is clearly obvious we're probably not going to compete for a title this year. Can we convince you to sit? We'll get a pick. We'll move up the draft board a little bit. And then we're going to be able to get some young talent in here to pair up with you. Will he buy that? Will he be all about that? I don't know. I really don't know. That's a tough sell probably for a guy who's in his early 30s and he wants to win, and he wants to win now, and he wants to win multiple championships. It probably would be a little bit of a tough sell. Ultimately, is that the best thing for the franchise? Is it the best thing for the franchise to move on from Giannis and kind of start that, quote, rebuild, if you want? Knowing that it's not going to be a for sure thing. You're losing a big cash cow for Giannis because, let's be real, Giannis on your team, on your court, it's going to put butts in the seats. It's going to sell merchandise. It's going to get more. You're going to get that national attention. From a business side, it pays to have Giannis on your roster. I don't envy the situation the Bucks are currently in. It's a tough one. Got a couple more. This is from Bobby Marks. So, Bobby Marks, another ESPN NBA analyst, says that Giannis and the Bucks appear set to part ways, but Bobby Marks doesn't think we'll see that before the February 5th trade deadline. Quote, I do think eventually there's going to be closure with the future of Giannis in Milwaukee here because I do think it's run its course. We've seen what the product is on the court right now, and we saw what it was in Denver the other night, Minnesota, San Antonio. It is a below-average product. It is, at best, a play-in 9th, 10th team, and instead of kicking the can down the road, how do you basically open up the market? Now, what does the market look like here? When you look at teams that monopolize draft picks, whether it be Brooklyn or Oklahoma City or Utah, San Antonio, I do not see those as Giannis destinations. Now, we can write about all 29 teams should be in play or what they should offer. And as great as Giannis is, and we did this with Luka, when you look at what the market space would be, it starts to shrink. So if it's Minnesota, who doesn't have a first-round pick, and it's New York, who doesn't have a first-round pick, and it's Miami, who has 2 first-round picks, the picks are not going to be what you might have thought where, hey, Desmond Bane got 4 first-round picks or Bridges got 5 first-round picks. The picks, unless it's going to be a wild card team, maybe like Golden State, that could come in and offer 4 first-round picks and send them Jimmy Butler's contract and some other younger players, the picks are just not there for some of these teams. Now, when we get into the summer, your picks basically begin to multiply. The Lakers now have an additional 2 first-round picks. They'll have 26, 31, and 33. That makes sense. If it's all about the picks, if it's about those first-round picks, the best bet for the Bucks is probably to, if they decide to move on from him, or they want to move on from him, it's probably going to happen in the summer. If you're looking for the best deal possible, it's probably going to come in the summer. So you can get those multiple first-round picks. Because, yeah, you look at what Desmond Bain got, 4 first-round picks. You look at Bridges, got 5 first-round picks. I think you start there when it comes to Giannis. You start there, but it's not just that. I honestly feel like if Giannis gets traded, if he gets traded, will that be like the biggest trade package ever in the NBA? Like in terms of what the Bucks would get in return? Because here's this, I was just kind of curious. What did the Rockets give up in 2025 for Kevin Durant? So the Suns received Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and several draft picks, including the number 10 pick. Yeah, and there was other teams involved in this too. I would wonder if there's going to be other teams that would have to get involved in this thing just to kind of even it all out. So the Rockets, so the Suns got Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the 10th pick, the 31st pick, the 41st pick, 2026 and 2023 second round. But I think Giannis would fetch more. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I guess I don't think we have seen the last of Giannis this year in a Bucks uniform. I still feel like we're going to see him at some point, but I would not be surprised, I guess, if the Bucks decide by, this week, next week, if they still try to make a move to add another piece and still try to convince Giannis. And I think if they do that, we know they're in desperation mode at this point. That's just my feelings. All right, we'll take a quick break. Back with more coming up after these few words. Looking for a great place to gather in the Chippewa Valley? You need to check out VFW Post 305 with a full calendar of events, live music, and a menu packed with crowd favorites. It's a spot where everyone feels welcome, whether you're stopping in for a casual night out, meeting some friends, or catching up over some great food and beverages. There's always something going on at the VFW Post 305. You can find them at 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Good times, great food, and live entertainment. That's the VFW Post 305. You can continue to send us your Grind My Gears Tuesday if you'd like. You can text those on over to that Shoe Doctors bullpen line or hit us up on the YouTube video stream. Also, continue to send us your Hy-Vee Game Changers. C-Bomb a little bit earlier with his Game Changer. He had put... Game Changer was Sean Payton's decision to go for it on fourth down rather than take a chip shot field goal to go up 10-0 with his backup. It changed momentum and how they faced the game, needing a touchdown to win late rather than play for a field goal. I know Sean Payton, I think I had read that he kind of regrets it now. Now, they could have still had a field goal at the end to tie it. It was a 10-7 game, so, I mean, they didn't really need a touchdown at the end. They still needed a field goal. But still, I think in that situation, it always is like the whole debate about whether to go for it on fourth or not, and depending on where on the field of play, right? Everybody kind of points the finger at analytics, and now you're seeing it on TV. You know, analytics say to do this. Analytics say to punt or to kick it or to go for it, you know. You get those percentages. Again, it just boggles my mind how they can figure that stuff out. And the thing is, too, is like, does anybody even know, like, how they figured this out and such, and how do we even know if it's true or not? You know, I think in that, to me, you have to kind of know the situation, too. I get it. You know, if you could get up 14-0 with your backup quarterback, your defense at your place, ideal. But at the same time, you still have a backup quarterback. The fact that you could have gone up 10 and make it a 2-possession game, honestly, I feel like people would have ridiculed him one way. Let's say, you know, hindsight's always 20/20 in this thing, right? But let's say Denver still, you know, went for it. Or let's say they kicked it, made the field goal. They're up 10-0. But then they lose 13-10. There's going to be some fans then that'll say, well, see, that's why he should have went for it and tried to get the touchdown. I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it. I'm just saying, you know, there's always going to be those fans. They're going to spin it around because it's constant, that they're just going to try to come up with another excuse or another reason, you know, that sort of thing. But I think too many times, I will say this, I think too many times we just rely so much on analytics. Like, analytics, I think, has a role. I think it has a place. But I think sometimes people just get caught up in it too much. And I think you've got to know certain situations. And so, I mean, there was a few plays, too, where, you know, let's say Green Bay wins that game against Chicago. Ben Johnson's probably getting called to the carpet for some of his fourth down decisions. But Green Bay blew it. Chicago wins, and nobody's really talking about some of those fourth down decisions. So, yeah. Anyways, we'll talk some more football coming up later on and such. But we've got Badger Chats coming at you here in just a little bit. We'll talk with RJ Cardinal. We'll talk Badger hoops with him. Badger basketball is going to be back in action tomorrow, taking on the Gophers back at the Kohl Center. The Badgers coming off of a 73-71 loss to USC. When you look at it in terms of where things stand in the Big Ten right now, you've got Wisconsin 6th tied for 6. Nebraska, Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue, and then, Wisconsin and UCLA are 3 games back from first place. But you look at all those teams above Wisconsin and UCLA. Nebraska's at the top of the conference, 9-0 in conference play, ranked 5th. Michigan, ranked 3rd. Michigan State, ranked 7th. Illinois, ranked 9th. Purdue, ranked 12th. 5 teams in the top 12 in the Big Ten Conference right now. I'm scrolling through, and I don't know of another conference that may be as top-heavy as that. I mean, in the ACC, you've got Duke at 4, ranked 4th. North Carolina's 16, Virginia 17, Louisville 20, but Louisville just lost to Duke, and Clemson's 22. In the Big 12, you got, Arizona's number 1, Iowa State 8. Yeah, Big 12 would have a say, I think, a little bit, because they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams ranked in the top 13. Arizona, Iowa State, Houston's at 10, Texas Tech's at 11, BYU's 13, and Kansas at 14. So you got, of the top 25, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of the top 25 teams between the Big 12 and the Big 10. And then when you factor in the ACC, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, man. Big East, by the way, if you're wondering where Marquette's at, they're at the bottom. They're at the bottom of the conference. They're 2-8 in conference play, 7-14 overall so far on this season. So Marquette coming up, their next game is going to be tonight, taking on Creighton. So, all right, we'll take our final break here as we start to wrap up things. We've got some more Grind My Gears, your ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears. Also, continue to send us your Hy-Vee Game Changers of the week. What was the play? What was maybe a decision or the player that you feel like ultimately changed the game? A couple of you had noted the weather in Denver changed the game. So I was thinking about that one too, but you guys took that. So, all right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back to wrap up the second hour after these quick words. Car trouble never comes at a good time, but with AJM Automotive in Eau Claire, they're always ready. From routine maintenance to major repairs, their experienced technicians get you back on the road fast and done right. And if you're stuck, AJM Automotive also provides reliable towing when you need it the most. One call, they can do a lot. Save the number now, all right? Put this in your cell phone. Grab it right now. Got it? Good. 715-835-9523. 715-835-9523 for AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. Trusted service, dependable towing, and repairs that you can count on. We got some more picks here. We were talking some Brewers and the Miz. Expectations for Jacob Misiorowski entering year two. Also a little bit with Brandon Woodruff. With what's your projection? So I know I've been saying the word expectations a lot, but what's your projections for those two pitchers? Because I think if you look at the baseball reference projections, I think you're going to have Brewers fans. I was going to say Packers fans there for a second. I think you're going to have disappointed Brewers fans. So Jacob Misiorowski's projections, we're just using baseball reference for right now. And I'll be curious to see if any of these change when we get to, closer to the season. We get more projections and such and that. But baseball reference has, for Jacob Misiorowski for 2026, 6-5, a 4.05 ERA, 91 innings pitched. I don't think Brewers fans would be satisfied with that. For comparison, he pitched 66 innings in 2025, and that was kind of the talk. It's like, okay, we got to watch his innings count. We can't push it too much. I don't think Brewers fans would be. Now, again, unless there's a major injury or something like that, but 91 innings, no. We don't want that. I mean, that 91 means like something was going on, I feel like. And then even Brandon Woodruff. We look at baseball references projections for Brandon Woodruff. Not great. Their projections for him for 2026, 7-4, a 3.62 ERA, 92 innings. 92. Compare it to 2025. Brandon Woodruff pitched, where's the 2025 here? 64 2/3. His ERA was 3.62, which, he's a career 3.20, so, his ERA would be about the same. What do they have for, let me just look up, Quinn Priester here. Projections for Quinn Priester. Okay, so Quinn Priester they have as a 10-6, 3.90 ERA, 136 innings pitched. I was just kind of curious, are they going to have a pitcher that was going to be over 100 innings on this thing? Where is, let me just kind of, again, Chad Patrick maybe on this list. Chad Patrick's projections, 115 innings, 4-7 record. 3.76 ERA. Now let's go with a couple of younger. What's Robert Gasser? Do they have a projection for him? Just kind of curious what they got. So for Robert Gasser, 66 innings. Okay. And Logan Henderson, they've got for projections for Logan 73 innings. All right. Again, this isn't the be-all, tell-all. I'm just kind of curious on what they've got some projections. But if we use those projections for Brandon Woodruff and Jacob Misiorowski, just those two, and those are the numbers, I think you'd have disappointed Brewers fans. So, what are your projections / expectations? Is it 120 innings plus for both those guys? Is it double-digit wins for both those guys. Granted, we know, right? We know that wins isn't the be-all, tell-all stat for starting pitchers anymore, right? Quality starts. But we like to look at wins for starting pitchers. So hit me up with your picks for that. All right. Let's do my Hy-Vee, a game changer. You can continue to send those on over if you got any more. I'm going to go to that fumbled punt by the Rams. So I originally thought, okay, yeah, you could throw the weather in for Denver and such in game changer and that. You could throw in game changer for Denver, playing Jared Stidham over Bo Nix with Bo Nix's injury and that. But I'm going to go to the Rams when they fumbled that punt. Seattle obviously gets it and scores a touchdown right away. Now, the Rams came down and scored right away to get it back to, single digits. But that play, just that play, that drop punt, or, not even a drop punt, a misplayed punt. Again, looking like me trying to probably play outfield right now and misjudging a fly ball. If they catch that, just secure it. Fair catch it. Secure it. Don't even do anything else. And let's say the Rams go down and score a touchdown. How different is that game? They have the lead instead of playing down from 2 possessions. That was a big-time game changer, in my opinion. Because let me bring it up here. Yeah, Rams botched punt return. This was in the third quarter, so Seattle goes up 24-13. Rams, yeah, they responded quickly to get down to 24-20, but then Seattle 31-20, 31-27, and fourth quarter was pretty much no scoring, not that eventful in that. But I go back to that botched punt. At that point, it was 17-13. And you're giving the ball back to the Rams. If the Rams make it 20-17, if they go down and score a touchdown, how different is that game? How different is that outcome? So that was my game changer of the week. That botched punt return. Not even a return. It was like, feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for the returner, but man. And the Rams, too, a team, we were talking a little bit about it earlier, and we'll hit this up later on, but the EPA numbers for the Rams, they're bad. They're really, really bad through the 2020s. Dead last for special teams is the Los Angeles Rams. Second worst, Green Bay. Third worst, 49ers. Although the 49ers and Green Bay, it's like cut in half. There's a big gap between the two. We'll go through those a little bit later on, though, too. So, all right, shot clock is going to it's going to cut me off here. So, coming up next hour, we're going to catch up with RJ Cardinal. We're going to talk some Badgers with him. We'll talk some Badger hockey after the men's team going up against Penn State this weekend. Not the greatest weekend. Badger basketball is going to be back in action tomorrow, coming off of a loss against USC. Got a rematch against Minnesota already after that thrilling game not that long ago, just a couple weeks ago against the Gophers. This time, obviously, we'll be at the Kohl Center. So we'll talk all things Badgers with RJ. We'll continue with our ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. So you can continue to send those on over, your Hy-Vee game changers. Feel free to send those as well. We'll get back some more Packers chat. Packers losing at least 2 position coaches, reportedly. Probably going to be more coming down the wire here in the coming days, but we'll revisit that from when we chatted about it in the first hour. So, all right, halftime, 2 in, 2 more to go. Quick break. We'll be back after these few words. All right, halftime's over with. Third hour kicking off right now. What up, Zach? Zach's joining us on the YouTube stream. Good morning to you, sir. Good to hear from you. Coming up in about 15 minutes or so, we'll catch up with Mr. R.J. Cardinal, Badger analyst. We'll talk all things Badgers with him. Hoops, hockey, maybe throw a little football chat in there too. So we'll continue with your ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. What's grinding your gears? Best ones. We'll read off the air. Also, your Hy-Vee Game Changers. All right, who's your Hy-Vee Game Changers from the past week? Packers reportedly going to be looking for a new linebackers coach and a new defensive backs coach. Ryan Downer, defensive backs coach, reportedly going to be following Jeff Hafley to Miami. Sean Dugan also going to be following Jeff Hafley. He is the linebackers coach. Is going to be going over, which that one, no big surprise because he had followed Jeff Hafley from Boston College to Green Bay. Downer had been with the team since 2018. So, but sounds like he's going over there in the same role as he has with Green Bay. Never people smarter than me and people who are around the team every single day say that one could be a big loss for the Packers defense. So, but with Gannon coming over too, we'll probably wants to bring a couple of his guys, and apparently he did try to bring somebody over from Philadelphia to be his new defensive backs coach. No relation, but says that Joe Kasper, he is now the new Eagles defensive backs coach, defensive pass game coordinator. This is from E.J. Smith. Kasper had interest elsewhere, including with Jonathan Gannon in Green Bay, but decided to stay with the Eagles in a role vacated by Christian Parker. So, but, yeah. There you have it. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some more special teams people out, get more special teams, or not special teams. I got special teams on my mind because we were talking special teams all in the first hour. I wouldn't be surprised if we get more position players. In fact, I'd probably be shocked if there is no more position players that are either going to be leaving or position coaches that are either going to be leaving or maybe let go. So, but 1 year ago today is when Rich Bisaccia had that quote-unquote extension. Saw Aaron Nagler post that on the X. So happy extension day for those who wish to celebrate that. But yeah, I know a lot of people have chimed in when we were talking about special teams in the first hour. I know I didn't get to everybody's thoughts on that, but a lot of you kind of echoing what Surveyor and Bloomer Tony and those guys had mentioned, saying it's guys just don't buy into it anymore for whatever reason. So maybe it's a generation thing, maybe it's a different era thing. I'm not sure, but that's kind of where the gist is for a lot of you. But going back to the Bucks here quick, because I didn't get a chance to catch up on a couple of these texts, but Eric said earlier when we were talking about the Bucks, as much as I hate to say this, I think the Bucks should look to trade Giannis. Probably won't happen by the trade deadline, like you were saying with the draft picks. They could get more if they were going to go into the offseason, but I now think more than ever that we will not see Giannis with the Milwaukee Bucks after this year. Ben had chimed in earlier too, saying it's disappointing because the Bucks did a lot of what Giannis wanted, trading for Dame, adding his brothers, making coaching changes. Those were all for Giannis, and look where it has led this team. This is why I can't stand the NBA, because players dictate too much of what happens with their teams. You're not alone in that sentiment. That is definitely a big gripe for a lot of people when it comes to following the NBA. A lot of NBA players probably hold a little bit more sway than maybe any other teams. Kind of echoes what Nick had sent over earlier too, saying that, and again, I'm going to try to get through it. We got a boatload here, but Nick mentioned too, saying disappointing because Giannis wanted a lot of things. I think this is supposed to say wanted the Bucks to do a lot of things for him. His brothers play for the team. He got Dame and a coach fired. I think this is some talk to text, so I apologize if I'm messing this up. But essentially, I think what you're saying, Nick, is like that the Bucks did a lot for Giannis, and maybe kind of look what the result is. Maybe want to try to send that again. So, but yeah, I mean, a few of you also saying too, the Bucks didn't do any services or any favors, to Giannis either. I'd slightly disagree with that. I think obviously it was a two-way street between these. I think it's pretty clear and pretty evident that some of the decisions, whether they were right or wrong, Giannis was in mind. Giannis might have had some say. Giannis might have had some input. I think that is clearly evidence in a lot of these situations. And I would agree with a lot of you kind of saying this is the problem you have for the NBA. Yeah, to me, the NBA has become more individualized over the years. And one player can dictate a whole lot. One player can dictate the direction of a team. One player can dictate some of the decisions. One player can also dictate a lot of the success of that team. They control a lot. Probably more so than maybe any other league at this point. I'd argue more so in football. Yeah, we've seen players kind of, demand trades and such, but to me, I would say it's more rare in the NFL, that player getting traded, than it is the NBA. Major League Baseball, kind of the same. I think in the NBA, you've got dudes who, you want out. You got your KDs that are switching teams every few years and such, right? One out of Brooklyn, one out of Phoenix, one out of OKC, whatever. He was a free agent then, but still. I'd agree with a lot of you. That's kind of my issue right now with the NBA. I miss the 90s. I miss the good old 90s NBA. And maybe not as much parity as you'd think, but that was because of one Michael Jeffrey Jordan winning a buttload of championships in the 90s. But, I mean, you still had some really good teams in the 90s. You had the Rockets winning a couple of championships. You had those Knicks teams with Ewing. If Jordan isn't there, do the Knicks at least have a championship? Maybe. My Orlando Magic, one of the big what-ifs. They should have won that 95 NBA Finals, for crying out loud, against Houston, but I think they got too big of a hit, and there's a what-if Nick Anderson doesn't miss those gosh darn free throws in Game 1. What happens? But, I mean, those Pacers teams from the 90s, too, there was some talented teams, but yeah, you had those Bulls and those Jordan teams winning 6 of them, and then, heck, right at the end, you had Duncan and David Robinson and such. But I don't know if that's something the Bucks could sell Giannis on. Hey, Giannis, sit. Maybe we'll get the first pick, and then we can do a little Duncan Robinson a la 97, whatever the year it was that they got him. I think it was 97, wasn't it? But I don't know if he'll buy that one. Don't think he will. But, hey, never say never, I guess. But what else do we got here? Got anything cool? Anything updated on the news line? Newsworthy stuff? Oh, yeah, Commanders. So the names that were reported to have interviewed for Green Bay for the defensive coordinator position, seems like they've all gotten jobs now as defensive coordinators. Christian Parker, Philly, he's with Dallas. Durante Jones from the Vikings, he is now the Commanders' defensive coordinator. Except for Al Harris. Al Harris, you haven't has Al Harris? I think Al Harris interviewed for Dallas too, but I'm not sure if he interviewed anywhere else. And then, of course, Jonathan Gannon. So I think there's only a couple teams. I'm kind of curious to see what direction does Mike McCarthy go for his defensive coordinator. I think Mike McCarthy's getting Big Mike's getting introduced today with the Pittsburgh media. Good for Mike. I know we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but good for Mike. Good for Mike. That's a heck of a wrap up to his career. So. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and coming up in a few minutes, we're going to chat with Mr. R.J. Cardinal. We'll talk some Badgers with R.J. really quick. Zach says, so I've been thinking about something a lot with the Packers, and I want your opinion on this, Dan. Do you think that the Packers need to move on from special teams coach? We talked a lot about that in the first hour. I think something needs to change, bring in a new kicker, and if Matt wants to keep his assistant head coach, then hire just a special teams coach and have Rich assistant head coach. Tell you what, Zach, we'll hit that up. We'll revisit that conversation here a little bit later on. Okay, so we'll touch on that again. We've got to take a quick break, though, and we're going to switch gears and talk some Badgers with Mr. R.J. Cardinal. He's coming up in just a few minutes. Let's switch gears here and chat some Badgers with our guy, Mr. R.J. Cardinal, who is joining us this morning. First things first, good morning, R.J. How you doing, bud?
Morning. Pretty good. How are you?
You know, I was trying to stay warm. I know probably you down in the south, maybe not as cold as up our northerners up here or such, but no, it's still cold down there.
I don't know. Today's high is like 8. So
nice. Yeah. I did kind of an informal poll question. Do you prefer 0 degrees or 100 degrees plus humidity?
I mean, is there a wind chill with that 0 degrees?
No. Let's keep it straight 0.
I guess I'll stay at 0. I mean,
okay. I wasn't sure with the golfing RJ if you'd prefer the 100 and humidity, because you got to have humidity with Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, but like once you get there, I mean, I'll go outside and golf all day, but like that course better have like a nice tree line that you can, while you're waiting to hit, go wait in the shade.
Yep.
And I guess as long as, especially on a day like that, because if you're throwing a few back, make sure you got like a Gatorade or bring your water jug with you to off balance anything that. I still think I'd rather just go with 0 and no other conditions, just straight 0.
Well, hey, you're in the majority. Because 76% of the voters said 0 degrees, so that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. All right, let's talk some Badgers here this morning, RJ. Let's start off with the Hoops team. How much of a disappointing loss was that over the weekend against USC at the Kohl Center?
It's up there. You were 6-2 in the conference after coming off a dominating win over Penn State, who is just not good.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got those 9 wins out of conference, but good on them. But I mean, USC is an average team at best, and you were going in with identical records at the time, and like Wisconsin was the better team. But when you go and you have a 12-point lead with 12 minutes to go, and you completely squander that. And, I mean, even in post-game, players are like, well, when the shots are going in, everybody's happy. When they're not, everybody gets all upset and says you got to find a different way to score.
Right.
Okay. Well, why didn't you? Like, USC started just crashing the hoop and getting fouls and scoring with the clock stopped. Well, you were missing every shot for 5.5 minutes, and they went on a 13-2 run over that 5.5 minutes from the 12-minute mark, and going in. So like, I don't know how a team can flip a switch so quickly to we're on fire, we built this 12-point lead, and all of a sudden just go dark for 5.5 minutes and then have to claw their way back, and couldn't even claw their way back from 5 points. And I think USC was up 10 sometime in the first half, but still, it just makes no sense how a team can get so cold so fast as a whole, when everything was going their way. So it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no kidding. So now they got a rematch against the Gophers coming up next here at the Kohl Center and such too. I mean, really, you look at this team, RJ. I mean, it's kind of been the big three. Blackwell had another rough day shooting. Nick Boyd did his thing, kind of. Winter Carrick has been a nice surprise off and on coming off the bench here, but looking at this game against the Gophers, how do you preview this one? Because it's not that long ago we just had that thrilling buzzer beater against them at the barn.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's probably going to be one that's close to the same kind of game we're going to look at. It should be a close contested battle. it seems Minnesota has a competent coach in there now. So these guys are playing better fundamentally and just overall seem to be a better team. And in conference, they only have 3 conference wins right now, but I mean, they are able to compete. And right now, I mean, we even saw it, like you said, up in the Twin Cities, they were winning.
Yeah.
And making a close game of it, and there's no denying that. But like, it's one of those. I think it's going to be a similar game, unless we see a performance like we did against Penn State, where everything's just dropping, or it's still a team that I think plays to their competition and thinks they can take days off. Because I mean, you were pretty, even in some of those quote unquote blowout losses, teams didn't pull away until like the end of games, and Wisconsin was in those, and the scores looked worse than the actual game. But it's a game where I expect to have, you're going to have to be watching it the whole time and not thinking about turning the channel because of a blowout win. So expect another close one. Badgers overall should have the edge, but I mean, we can see, like we were just talking, we can see this team just shut it down and like go dark in the middle of a game. So be ready.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So how about Badger women's basketball? They're 13-8 on the season. They're 5-5 in conference play, but they're 11-1 at home. I know they got a big game coming up against 11th ranked Ohio State, but with new coaching staff this year and kind of seeing where they're currently at, I guess the question I want to ask you, RJ, have they kind of maybe exceeded the expectations you had for this program before the season started?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to exceed no expectations.
Right, yeah.
Or at least, start to look respectable. And I think they're doing that. Against some of these teams that do have a more established history or are ranked, they're still looking like those Badger teams we've seen the past few seasons. But against the teams that are considered around where they are or less, where we saw Wisconsin, even with better talent, struggling, they are winning those games now. So it's good to see that. Is this an NCAA tournament team? I honestly don't know. I mean, you can look at that home record and then the away record, where I still don't understand how they only have 9 games that haven't been at the Kohl Center, but I guess Kohl Center's only 12, so it just looks funny when you see it still single digits. So hopefully the back end of this schedule, which theoretically should be full of away games now, doesn't just fall apart. And I mean, I even looking at the schedule, I'm not sure if they can get to 20 wins, but even then, you have teams left that are going to be pretty difficult to beat, and like I said, you're on the road, a lot of them, and I guess you're 2-7 on the road right now, or at a neutral site, but you have to be happy with the progress we're seeing and the talent that Coach Pington has brought in, and I mean, she has 3 recruits from in-state that have verbally committed for next year. So that's something of a shift there too, in getting some talent from the state to commit to the UW, which, I mean, we've had some recently, but then they've all left or quit basketball due to the previous coaching regime. And it's just good to see, regardless of if you follow it or not, when athletics are doing good, the university is better, and the more athletics that are doing good, the more money the athletic department makes.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully our new chancellor, whenever they get hired, understands that and puts more emphasis on athletics than the last one.
Yeah. Hockey, men's hockey, 4 games now in a row that they've lost. They lost to Penn State over the weekend. I don't know if it was because Micah Parsons was there, cheering on his pen. I hope Wisconsin fans were too upset. I mean, the guy at least went to college there. So he was wearing a Packers hat, right? He was wearing a Packers hat. So there you go. So
it sounded like people were more or less just throughout the game trying to get pictures and stuff with him, and a little ribbing, not so much hatred, because I mean, you gotta, like you said, you gotta understand where the guy went to college. It's not like he's going to sit there in a Badgers sweater and cheer on Wisconsin.
Right.
But now you're this quote unquote second half of the season. You're 0-5 against ranked teams. You've lost 4 in a row. I know there have been some injuries, but some of the play just looks like they're getting outclassed. And I know there was no handshake after the Saturday night game between coaches, at least. And I haven't really listened to the post-game presser or anything like that, but it seems there was a perceived disrespect on Saturday night from Guy Godowski towards and the Penn State players towards Wisconsin. They were getting pretty chippy at the end of the game when they were up 3-1, and so I really have to try to find some audio to see what happened there, but just from reading and talking to some friends who were at the game, it was Penn State not being classy at all. But if you want to go look at Penn State video and things like that, they say Wisconsin wasn't being classy for not shaking hands. So we'll see what happens there. But something's got to get worked out here, because if you're starting to lose all these games against ranked teams that you were winning before, it's not going to help out as you're going through the rest of the season here. Especially, I mean, you were 15-2-2 or 13-2-2 before the second half started, so like now you're 15-7-2, and something's got to get back on track here, and hopefully you got a run going up to the Twin Cities this weekend. Notre Dame comes in, and then you go to Ohio State. Those are the bottom teams of the conference, but I mean, you also lost to Ohio State at home in November 5-1, and then snuck in a goal and beat them in overtime that weekend. So as you're going through here, really want to get a focus on these next 3 weekends to try to at least get 4 of 6, maybe 5 of 6, and get things back on track before Michigan heads to the Kohl Center, and then you finish the season out at Penn State. So a lot of work to be done, and still, a full month of hockey here left, but really put that nose to the grindstone and get back to where we were pre-winter break, and hopefully get things back on track, host opening weekend of Big Ten tournament for the first time ever, I believe, and hopefully you can work things out to be a higher seed, and I think it's keep hosting until you get to the Final Four of the Big Ten tournament, and then it goes to the highest seeds campus. So we'll see what goes on there, but hopefully things get back on track here.
I want to go, before we let you go here, so I do want to touch a little bit on Badger football, because I know Luke Fickell a few days ago kind of, had a little presser, talked about his transfer portal class and such. Did anything kind of stand out to you from what he said, or when you kind of take, I know we've touched on this transfer portal class off and on with different players and such, but anything kind of stand out to you from what he said, or anything that you observed, or anything really stand out that he talked about a few days ago?
he talked about the perceived gap that needs to be closed. And when you look at that and you look at the last 3 seasons, and that gap is 3 national championships from 3 schools in the Big Ten, that's a wide gap to fill. You're at no bowl games, and you are talking about closing the gap. He also talked about how the university and donors and the collective are really stepping up their game. So what tells me there is he perceives that the talent is here, and now we get to see if he hired the right coaches. I mean, moving your DBs coach, where I don't think we've seen any, your cornerbacks coach, where we haven't seen any development whatsoever. It's been the worst group on the defense, to bringing in a new cornerbacks coach who brought in some former 4-star and high 3-star talent through the transfer portal, causing your one returning cornerback to transfer to Virginia. So they brought in basically, we have a whole new room of cornerbacks that should be, at least on paper, ready to go, where you have forget the name of the transfer from Ohio State, but was a 4-star recruit who was behind some people and apparently didn't see himself making the field at Ohio State. But everybody at Ohio State was like, it's a shame he left. He was going to be a starter this year. So you're bringing in talent from some of those schools that have built the gap between us and them. But quite frankly, we're at a point where we've seen the last few seasons. I can't just go off of paper anymore. I need to see results on the field. And now at this point, it really becomes, what do we have in this coaching staff?
Mm-hmm. RJ, I got to get your thoughts. I mean, since we talk college stuff all the time with you, the influx of former college players now coming back to college to play. I'm talking obviously basketball and such, with these, restraining, I don't know if is it restraining order, whatever it may be, but obviously Alabama guys. Injunction. There we go. Thank you. So, this is, I don't know your thoughts, dude, but this is kind of getting crazy, man. I mean, we got kids that are playing in the G League, and then they're like, oh no, I'm going to go back to college now and play, and they're allowed to play.
They're making less money than they were in college. They're getting dominated by other professionals, and they are crying and wanting to go. Now, the injunction with that guy at Alabama, it hasn't been ruled on yet, and Alabama is playing him. If it's determined that he cannot play, they're going to have to forfeit some games if they win. I believe the last game they played, they lost. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens here, because as far as I know, they've been granted an injunction, so he can play, but there's no ruling yet. So I'm not sure how this is going. But it seems, as long as you have never played in an NBA game and only G League, that's what they're allowing in. But I mean, I was used to think the rule was once you're paid professionally in the sport you play, you cannot go back and play that sport. It's ridiculous. And I mean, you have individuals suing the NCAA. I mean, we saw it in an odd way with Nizer Forkreen, who, I mean, basically had Luke Fickell told us, oh, it's a done deal, he'll be able to play. And he never saw the field at all, and they weren't willing to put him out there to play. So that tells you what you need to know, what Wisconsin knew about the situation. But I still think his case hasn't been ruled on, and that was filed in July or August, and we were told we would have a ruling by the end of September at the latest. So he'd miss the the non-conference games and be ready for conference ball because the ruling would come then. And I'm still trying to think if I've heard a ruling or if it got late enough and he dropped it. But haven't followed it that closely outside of not ever hearing anything about it. So, I mean, we opened Pandora's box, and the NCAA dropped the ball majorly because they assumed in their head what this was going to be. It was going to be do autograph signings at a car dealership, make money off your jersey sales, and all that. And now you're getting high school seniors in states that allow NIL to ask for $500,000 just for a campus visit. So the NCAA, which, I mean, there's a lot of people smarter than me out there who are predicting within, the next 10, 15 years won't exist for football at least. It really dropped the ball and opened up something now that they can't control, and it's just going to get worse as it goes on. And I mean, hopefully, at least in terms of eligibility rules, they get that straightened out. And I know some people are like, oh, 7-year seniors and all, like that's been happening a long time. When you have injuries and red shirts, and for certain sports, Olympic red shirts and all that, it's bound to happen. Like even in Olympic sports, like if you fall in the right, time period of your college career, you could take 2 Olympic red shirts, have a red shirt. So there's 3 years right there, have 4 years of eligibility still. And if you get injured in there, get another year or 2 of eligibility, depending on how much you actually competed at the collegiate level. So, I mean, it's happened before, but now it's kind of getting out of control with some even, being allowed to like compete, have an injury late, and then depending on who you are, you get a yes. Or if you are an athlete at Wisconsin, you get a no before you can even finish your sentence. But it's getting way out of hand. It's hilarious how much failure or lack of success really affects younger athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I mean, they have a safety blanket now because they can just go sue and be able to go back to school, which, they weren't enrolled in,
Yeah.
and all that, and have immediate eligibility. So it really makes no sense to me in one way, shape, or form as to why NIL has devolved into so much other snowballing that doesn't involve paying players, and where eligibility now has come into the scenario where, oh, I played at NAIA, I can have as much eligibility as I want because it's not a part of the NCAA. Or where D3 has totally different rules than FBS, FCS, or just Division I in other sports, and Division II, which I don't understand that either. Because I know, like, especially at D3, there are scholarship schools and non-scholarship schools, which that I don't understand either. But it's just crazy the amount of rules, even within the NCAA, that are there that are different at different levels of competition. So it's almost like you need to wipe the slate clean of anybody in the NCAA and really have somebody look at bylaws and all that kind of stuff, and really put a foot down on at least the eligibility side of things to make sure you have, a clear-cut kind of system in order to, across all sports and eligibility rules. And I mean, really, if you get paid $1 even in a minor league system like the G League, you should not be ever allowed to touch foot on a college court ever again.
Mm-hmm. I agree. He's RJ Cardinal. Good stuff as always, dude. We appreciate the time, man. Stay warm down there, okay? And we'll catch up with you soon.
Absolutely. You guys stay warm up there, too. We'll talk to you later.
There you go, RJ Cardinal. Good stuff as always from our dude, Mr. RJ, down in Madison. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these few words. If your vehicle needs some body work done, maybe you got into a little bit of a fender bender, or maybe you got just some work to be done on that frame, on that body of your truck or your car, wherever the case may be. Where do you got to go? I know you don't want to think about having any issues with your vehicle, but sometimes it does happen. Make it simpler on yourself. Head to our good friends at Superior Auto Body. All right, Superior Auto Body are our new sponsors for Backyard Dreams. So a big thanks to the fine folks, Nick and company at Superior Auto Body, for believing in the mission for Backyard Dreams. But if you do need to get some work done on that vehicle, go check them out. 301 North Farwell Street in Eau Claire. All right, 301 North Farwell Street in Eau Claire. Whether it's fixing up some of the dents or scratches or whatever the case may be for your auto body repair needs, Superior Auto Body can help you out. Fantastic people over there, and we're actually going to chat a little bit with Nick and company from Superior Auto Body coming up tomorrow, as they are our new partners for Backyard Dreams. You can also check out their website at Superior Auto Body Inc. That's superiorautobodyinc.com for more details, services, facts, testimonials, all that good stuff. Everything's loaded up right on their website. I do have to take another break before the top of the hour here, but let's just kind of reset things here as we approach the final hour, okay? So send me your ASAP Use Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. What's grinding your gears? Send me your Hy-Vee Game Changers. All right. Send me your projections or what you think should be the expectations for one Brandon Woodruff and Jacob Mizorowski. You're John Horst. You're the Milwaukee Bucks ownership group. How do you approach the trade deadline next week? And coming up in the next hour, we'll revisit a topic that we had to open up things right away at 6 o'clock this morning. When it comes to special teams play, and Green Bay's stunk at it for a while, they've also gone through multiple special teams coordinators, and it feels like it's the same results. Do you put the blame on the coaches? Do you put the blame on the front office for maybe not providing them with players that, can contribute to special teams? Or do you put the blame on the players for maybe not buying in to playing special teams? We'll throw those three options out to you. Where would you point the finger to the most? All right. So give you a little bit to think about that and to chime in on that topic that we'll get back to coming up in the final hour here. All right. So hit me up, 715-830-1912. Also hang out with Zach and Joe on the YouTube video stream as well. All right. We'll take our final break for this third hour, and then we'll start to wrap it up and get into the crazy final hour, the fourth quarter, coming up in just a little bit. We'll be back after these quick words. Speaking of Backyard Dreams, don't forget, we want to pay registration fees for a couple of T-ball Eau Claire Nationals. Their games are played over at Jeffers Park. So if you know of a kiddo, ages between 4 to 12, that you think, you know what, they love baseball, they deserve to have their registration fee paid for, we'll cover it through Backyard Dreams. Go to our website, sportstalk1051.com. Click on the Fan Cave tab and scroll all the way down, and you'll see that icon right down there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that up for maybe a few more weeks here. I know probably baseball, you're not quite thinking about Little League and stuff like that, but it's going to be here before you know it. And this is for the Spring League, which is going to start in April, so not that far away. So if you know of anybody, please send them, or you can nominate them yourselves. Just go to, again, our website, click on that Fan Cave, and then scroll all the way down to the bottom. It'll be under the prize dugout, and you'll see that icon. It says nominate someone to play Little League or T-ball. So that's Backyard Dreams, brought to you by Superior Auto Body. That is the vision of Backyard Dreams, is to help make sure kiddos have a chance to play sports and such too. So, all right, a couple minutes to the top of the hour. So we'll kick it off chatting some more football. I want to get your input on special teams, because I think this is probably the big thing that's in the spotlight for a lot of Packers fans at this point, is where do they go from here? What do they do? Are they going to make are they going to make a change as special teams coordinator? Are they going to kind of run it back? Do you point the blame at the players? Do you point the blame at the coaching? Do you point the blame at the general manager for not giving them the players to play special teams? It's all across the board. We just know you lump it into one, and there's issues with the special teams. Just how bad have they been for the last few years? Very bad. We'll go through some of those numbers coming at you here in the next hour. So if you had to pick one, who would you point, or what would you point the finger at the most? Again, players, coaching, front office. Knowing that probably it is a mixture of all the above. You're probably putting all those in the bowl, and you're putting it all together, and this is what we get. This is the product we get. We get a little bit of this, we get a little bit of that, throw a little bit of that in there, and this is what you get. But which ingredient is probably represented the most in this chaotic mixture of special teams that is Green Bay? So we'll hit that up to kick off the next hour, but shot clock is going to cut me off right about now. 3 in, 1 more to go, 3 quarters in, final quarter coming at you after these quick news updates. Final hour kicking off right now on this Tuesday morning of January 27th. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to talk some more Brewers. Ms. Woodruff, what are your projections? What are your expectations for probably the top 2 starting pitchers right now if you were to rank them on this Brewers team? Maybe throw a little Chad Patrick in there. But we're kind of looking at Baseball References projections for both Ms. and Woodruff, and both of them, and this is just one projection, but Baseball Reference has them both under 100 innings pitched. Ms. over a 4 ERA. So I'm curious to get the predictions from the rest of you out there. What should be the expectation be? What should the prediction be, projection be for Jacob Misiorowski and Brandon Woodruff? All right. Hit me up. Text it on over, 715-830-1912, or hit us up on the stream and such. We'll get to that. Plus, you're John Horst, the Milwaukee Bucks general manager, Bucks ownership. How do you approach this final week or so before the trade deadline with Giannis' injury? What do you do? Do you still try to find another piece? Do you stand pats? What do you do? What do you do if you're in that position? Send me your ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears and your Hy-Vee Game Changers. I want to lead off getting back to a conversation we had at the beginning of the program in the 6 a.m. hour. Packer special teams. So the question I'm throwing out there for everybody is when it comes to special teams, because I think we could all agree, Packer special teams have been poo-poo, to put it cleanly. They've been poo-poo. They've been bad. They've been frustrating. They've been annoying. They've been irritating. Whatever word we want to use to describe it, they've been awful. And that's been the case for the last few years, even going pre-Matt LaFleur. Why? They've gone through how many different special teams coordinators? I should bring up a list here. Let me see if I can get just an easy list here. Packers special teams coordinators. All right, so Mike Stock. Oh, yeah. Man, I forgot. So Sean Slocum, 2009 to 2014. Ron Zook, Sean Menanga, that was Matt LaFleur's hire. Maurice Drayton, and then Richard Bisaccia. But if we kind of go to Mike McCarthy, it would have been Mike Stock. Mike Stock. Okay, so looking at Sean Slocum had the best playoff record, 6-5. That we can't look at that stuff. But anyways, so those have been, let's just keep it to Richard Bisaccia, Maurice Drayton, and Sean Menega and Ron Zook and Sean Slocum. Let's just kind of look at it from 2009 to like this. We can all agree it's not been great, right? It's not been good. So do we point the finger at players? Do we point the blame at the coaches? Is it the front office? Where is it at? Like, we can all agree to probably it's a little bit of both. But is there a lot more of one of them compared to the others? I was looking at these numbers and EPA. So we've talked about EPA before, mostly when it comes to like quarterback play or offense and defense and such. And just to kind of refresh your memory, EPA is expected points added. It's a football statistic analytic that has gained in popularity a little bit more over the last few years. So essentially, it is an advanced statistic that measures a play's impact on scoring, calculated as the change in expected points from before to after a play based on down and distance and field position. So that's a lot. Okay, I need examples, right? I'm Michael Scott in the office. Explain this to me like I'm 5. Let's use an offensive play. Look at this situation. EPA considers a situation where you pick up a first down. You gain 5 yards on 3rd and 4th as a much higher EPA than if you were to gain 5 yards on 3rd and 10. Okay? Or even, just because you're extending that drive, that sort of thing. Kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense a little bit. Essentially, it's efficiency. Okay? It's efficiency. So Jordan Love, that's why you probably heard EPA a lot when it comes to Jordan Love, because Jordan Love's numbers with EPA are just, they're one of the best across the entire league. One of the best. So looking at it from a special teams thing, and this was a fascinating thread from, and if you have Twitter/X, you can look it up, but Anthony DeBundo, and he posted the EPAs of teams' special teams units from the 2020s. Dead last is the Rams, negative 169.68. Next to them, second worst, is the Packers, negative 165.81. Third worst is the 49ers, but there is a huge gap, negative 86.83. Now, I know a lot of people are like trying to connect some dots and say, oh, look at those three head coaches. Shanahan tree, you got Kyle, you got McVay, you got LaFleur. I don't know if there's anything there. It could just be happy coincidence and such, but it's fun to look at. So the top team, the Seattle Seahawks, plus 157.05. Seattle, plus 157.05. Green Bay, negative 165.81. That is a huge difference. Why? Why are they bad? We want to know why. By the way, you want to talk about game changers for Hy-Vee, our Hy-Vee game changers? Look at Seattle and what they did at the trade deadline. You know, I know over the years it's picked up a little bit more, but their trade for Rashid Shaheed, game changer of what he's been able to provide on special teams in the return game. Big time game changer. Acquiring him from the Saints before the trade deadline. But you look at this like, okay, so is this an organizational philosophy for Green Bay? Whereas the front office, they're like, no, we're not going to invest, players in special teams. Is this coaching? You got multiple coaches perhaps factored in here. Is it players just not buying in? Honestly, it is all of them, but which one do you kind of point at? Now, this is just a small part of it. Now, it's not fair when we say special teams. Daniel Whelan is awesome. We can all agree on that. Daniel Whelan is awesome. He's a great punter. That has worked in special teams. He has just gotten better and better and better every year he's been in the league so far. So when we talk about special teams, we're taking him out of this. I don't want to lump Daniel Whelan into this conversation because that's not fair to him. So when we just sit here and talk special teams, just pretend Daniel Whelan's not on it because he's good. We're good with him, right? Chef's kiss. I kind of want to focus a little bit more on, the return game, recoverages, that sort of thing. Obviously, kickers that's a hot topic too. But the thing that bugs me the most is Keyshawn Nixon. The fact that Keyshawn Nixon is not returning kicks is mind-boggling to me. Especially this year when they changed the rule to make it you were going to have more returns. You were going to increase the amount of returns. Keyshawn Nixon has been named an All-Pro in the return game. That's how he got a contract extension to begin with, because he was an All-Pro kick returner. And then, before this previous season, what does he say? I want to be CB1, and kind of like, I don't want to be a kick returner anymore and all that. And we saw him a couple times, maybe once in a playoff game or a couple times. It's like, pardon? Why are we taking our best returner and not having him return kicks? I get it. Okay, CB1, don't want to get him hurt. He ain't CB1. I'm sorry. If he's CB1, we got some depth issues. Sorry, we need more talent there. I feel like there is this mindset. I kind of go into our players. Part of it, the players, are they buying into the importance of special teams? Like Romeo Dobbs, not a punt returner. The fact that we had to try Josh Jacobs at that, we know there's issues there. Maybe Savion Williams can develop into that type of player where he's the kick returner, punt returner, that sort of thing. Obviously got a lot of opportunities, not a ton of splash plays. But they need Keyshawn. I mean, what happened to players wanting to return kicks, wanting to return punts? Keyshawn doesn't, and that's when he got named All-Pro. Like, dude. And to be fair, I'll say this, maybe behind closed doors he said, say, hey, if you need me to do it, I'll do it, sort of thing. And maybe the team said, no, we need you out there. So I'll throw that out there just to be fair, just in case. But what are we doing? To me, that would be coaching malpractice to not have. We talk about putting your players in the best position to succeed and also for the team to succeed. That's your best returner. I get it. He wants to play corner. I get it. He wants to focus on being the top corner in that. But also, come on now. You can flip the game on a special teams play. Green Bay has been victims of this how many flipping times? And one of my bugaboos too, and I'd have to look up the exact numbers here, but man, it felt like Green Bay with their penalties on special teams, especially like at the beginnings of games and that, and it was infuriating. It was annoying. Do I have this? So let me see if I can. So Green Bay was top 10, it looks like, in special teams penalties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They were 10th, according to NFLpenalties.com. They had 22 special teams penalties. The worst was Tennessee at 35. When it comes to special teams yards, okay, Green Bay goes down a little bit, it looks like. But, yeah. How about... Okay, there's different categories. I'm trying to scroll through this on the fly here, but at least they weren't Carolina. Yeah, special teams pre-snap, Carolina had 11. Ugh, yuck. But, man. So... I want to. Okay, that's an old piece there. I thought I found another article, but anyways, yeah, it's just I wonder, is it player buy-in? This is just pure speculation on my part, but it's like, are we to the point where players just have this negative connotation to playing special teams? Like a lot of these guys, younger guys especially, they're coming from teams. I don't care what round they were drafted in, but they were probably a starter or they were probably an impact player. And then they're going to the NFL, and then they're asked, hey, for you to make this team, you got to play special teams. It's like, what? But I was a starter. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's just they're not buying into it and they're not, I want my Travis Jervies. I want my Matthew Slaters. I want those guys that, just get geeked up. They'll line up as a gunner and get down and make a big play. They make careers because of them being on special teams. And I think part of it, though, too, is front office. Something I talked about last week. I do think part of it is front office decisions are factored in because in the past, or maybe, some teams probably still do this, but, the age-old adage, you want to make this team. I think Ted Thompson was one of the guys that always said this too. You want to make this team, undrafted guys, late rookies, play well in special teams. That's how you get on there. Play well in special teams. It's the easiest way to make it. We always talk about spring or preseason and training camp. I just wonder now our teams look at this like, okay, we want to make sure we have adequate depth at offense and defense in case there's injuries, and we're going to kind of focus on that they're better offensive and defensive players, and then, all right, just as a side job, go do special teams. That I could easily buy that too. It's got to be a focus for Green Bay this offseason, whether that's changing the coordinators, whether it's changing the mindset, whether it's changing the way out of how you build this team. This is unacceptable to continue down this path of completely kind of ignoring special teams. I'm putting everybody on blame for this. I'm putting players to blame. I'm putting front office to blame. And I'm putting coaches to blame. They have got to be better at their job, because I think we're all kind of tired of losing games because of special teams, holding ourselves back because of inadequate special teams play. It's just, this has got to stop. It can't be overlooked. I'm talking kicking. I'm talking coverage. I'm talking returns. Again, Daniel Whelan, you're good. We're good with him. But they have got to make this a primary focus in the offseason. They got issues they got to figure out across the board all over this team. There's no doubt about it. But for all, and I honestly feel like Rich Bisaccia is going to be back. I feel like he will be back on this team as, whether it's assistant head coach or special teams coordinator. I mean, they've got 2 assistant special teams coordinator coaches. Is there too many roosts in the hen house? Whatever. But I feel like Bisaccia is going to be back. And so if that's the case, you really need to make this a primary focus in the offseason. How do we get better? How can we be more of a threat in special teams? Because seeing Seattle and, guys like Rashid Shaheed have an impact, I want that from Green Bay. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll talk some baseball. Miz, Woody, what are your projections? What are your expectations for them this season? Quick break. We'll be back after these few words. Quick update on another Packers position coach getting an interview elsewhere. Sean Mannion, their quarterbacks coach, apparently interviewed with the Eagles, according to CBS Sports, for their offensive coordinating spot. So maybe something to keep an eye on over there. We know Ryan Downard is going to Miami, pairing up with Jeff Hafley. Sean Dugan as well, linebackers coach. So we know Green Bay right now from a position coach standpoint is going to be looking for a new linebackers coach and a new defensive backs coach. We'll see if more potentially are on the way out, whether following somebody, getting promotions elsewhere, or being let go. So I know there's been some people kind of saying, how come nothing's been officially announced from Green Bay in that? It's typical Green Bay. I mean, they're not one of those that have been really gung-ho and going to the social medias and such to announce a lot of these coaching hirings and such. But I would imagine that I would imagine soon we're going to have something about Gannon and such, and maybe I don't think they did. Let me just double check something here. I don't think they posted anything, like a thanks to Hafley or anything. I don't think they did. Could be wrong. I might have missed it in that, but don't get too wound up from it though. So, all right, Brandon Woodruff, Jacob Mizorowski. Your projections, your expectations for those two pitchers as we inch closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting for the Milwaukee Brewers. Think spring, think baseball. It's coming, baby. It's coming. What are the projections? What are the expectations for those two guys? Two very interesting cases, I think, because both are going to be counted upon to lead this pitching group, to lead this team back to the postseason, maybe even win another division. Brandon Woodruff, with the amount of money he is making this year, there's just going to be that natural pressure on him when you've got $20-some million you're making as of right now. I say that because maybe they can agree to a different extension and such, but with $20-some million, the most that the Brewers have ever given a pitcher for a single season, there's going to be that pressure. There's going to be that pressure. Can he stay healthy? You factor in health, you factor in what he's getting paid, there is going to be pressure from Brewers fans setting the bar pretty high on Brandon Woodruff. And I totally get it. Comes with the territory. You're making that bank. You've been injured for, a couple years and that. Yeah, fans want to see, 120, at least 120, maybe probably even more innings out of you. I mean, Freddie Peralta the last few years, we've been spoiled with Freddie Peralta because even though he hasn't gone deep into games, the guy has put up over 200 innings how many years in a row? So maybe that line should be closer to what? What's the minimum you want? 150, 160 innings pitched when it comes to Brandon Woodruff? Wins, kind of dicey now because, how many times have we seen pitchers pitch great games, but they get the loss or no decisions? So just, I guess, generically, maybe just say double-digit wins on there, like a 3-something ERA. But I know I don't like Baseball Reference's projection of Brandon Woodruff having under 100 innings pitched. I hope that's not the case, because if that's the case, something's going on then. If Brandon Woodruff pitches under 100 innings, there's something going on, and it ain't good. So, yeah, if you're the Brewers, you're willing to throw that qualifying offer of $20-some million. I don't fault Brandon Woodruff for taking that, but it does come with added extra pressure. It's just the name of the business. And then on the flip side, you've got Mizorowski, which last year was, I can't imagine anybody at that age. The whirlwind that he went through. He gets called up. He gets a great start. Everybody's hyping up Miz versus Paul Skeens. Miz versus Clayton Kershaw. Miz makes the All-Star team. There was a lot going on. And then wheels kind of came off a little bit. He got dinged up a little bit. Playoffs come around. He's not a starter, but he was really effective coming out of that bullpen. And he looked dang good. in big moments and big playoff moments, which I think if you're a Brewers fan, it's got to give you confidence heading into this year and the future. It's like, okay, this guy got some big-time playoff experience that, all right, confidence is going to be there for him. Maybe it was a little shaky heading into the postseason because from what we saw at the end of the regular season, like, oh, do you trust him? That was the conversation we had. Do you trust Miz? And Miz performed really well in the postseason. But now it's like, okay, so what's that expectation for this year? Again, I don't like Baseball Reference's projection of under 100 innings. I don't like that. No. They had like 90 some. He had 66 this year for the Brewers. And they were, first of all, he was on the injury list too, but they were also like, okay, we're going to watch his innings because, it's the first time we're pushing him. To say less than 30 more, that can't happen. And again, if that does happen, that means something bad happened. So I'm looking for 150 innings from him. I want something around a 3 ERA. They have it over 4. I don't want that. These are the two guys that are going to lead this starting pitching group. The veteran in Woodruff, the fireballer. It's like the major league quote. The veteran Eddie Harris, fireballer Ricky Vaughn. It's like the veteran Brandon Woodruff, the fireballer Jacob Mizorowski. Right? It's kind of that's the case there. So I think expectations are going to be high, and they should be high. They got the talent to do it. The biggest thing for those two, I think, is just going to be one, health. And you can say that for every single player in every single sport is health. Can they stay healthy? Especially Brandon Woodruff. And the Miz. Can he pick up where he left off in that postseason and maybe take it up another step? Coming out of the pen. Can he transition that, take that, and then go back to being a starter and get through those innings where it's like, oh boy, it's a little bit of a wild card. I'm really curious to see how these two guys go. But if this Brewers team right now, if they want to get back to the postseason, they want to win the division again, those two guys are going to have to be big parts of the overall success of this year, especially if the Brewers do not add any more pitchers, veteran pitchers, in free agency. I'm not closing the door on that. They got a lot of options currently on their team right now, but maybe they want a veteran lefty. Maybe they want to bring back Jose Quintana. They did that in camp. I wouldn't shut the door on the Brewers potentially adding another veteran starter. They've done it before in spring training. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to spring training with this current roster, but then it's like, okay, let's maybe add in a guy or a couple guys here. I think, was it over the weekend, too? It was the anniversary of the Christian Yelich trade. Brewers were pumping that thing out on social media. All right, we'll take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though. We'll be back after these few words. Just saw this report's rumor. I think I'd classify it more as a rumor than a report at this point. But LeBron James' agent, I would say he's probably, like everybody knows who Scott Boras is, baseball. Rich Paul's kind of the basketball version of that. Kind of like the main one or the most popular one, Who's the NFL? NFL agent, the one that everybody knows about. Blanking on it. Drew Rosenhaus. Yeah, thank you, Drew Rosenhaus. There's that one. Rich Paul's kind of that NBA one, but there's a report. Apparently, Rich Paul is trying to get Giannis to hire him as his agent, which has many speculating that could mean that Giannis, if he does make that move, would get his way out of Milwaukee. So this was from Henry Abbott of True Hoop. Rich Paul of Clutch Sports not only has a tendency to talk about Giannis, but also multiple sources agree he has been talking to Giannis's brother Thanasis as of late. Rich, it seems clear, would like to represent Giannis and is said to have been making the case that he's the guy who can get a star player where he wants to go. Also, two excellent NBA sources suggest that this kind of agent talk is a constant undertone of NBA life, and it's not worth worrying about. Two others believe there's a very real chance that Giannis will soon have a new agent. So, obviously, Rich Paul, LeBron James' agent, also Anthony Davis, Tyrese Maxey, De'Aaron Fox, Draymond Green, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe something to kind of follow along there. But I would think that if Giannis hires a new agent, and especially if it's a guy like Rich Paul, I feel like that would probably give us a good sense or a good idea of what he wants to do. Of if he wants to stay in Milwaukee or if he wants his way out. Without having to come out and demand it. Right? He's not the boss. Whatever his agent, remember all of his quotes. His agent, he's the one that does all the talking and such. If we get that report or that news story that he's got a new agent, I think that tells a lot about what he wants to do. Just my opinion, but we're going to the brother too, right? Thanasis. Smart by Rich Paul. So back to baseball here really quick. Maybe some of you have kind of noticed this before, but MLB Network has the Shredder. It's MLB Network's objective, data-driven ranking system that determines the top 10 players at each position. So like last year, I had issues with it because Bryce Terang wasn't in there, but Garrett Mitchell was top 10 center field. It's like, what is going on here? Well, they kicked it off, and they started with second baseman. Bryce Terang did make the list, but he came in at 10th. Marte, Chisholm Jr., Nico Horner, Brendan Donovan, Marcus Semien, Jose Altuve, Gleyber Torres, Xavier Edwards, Brandon Lowe, all ahead of Bryce Terang. And then MLB.com put it out to a fan vote and such. Bryce Terang actually finished third. So at least he cracked the top 10, but man, I still feel like maybe Bryce Terang is getting a little undervalued. We'll see, because last year they had left fielders, and Jackson Chiriot and Christian Yelich both made the top 10. Left fielders are going to be revealed today, or tonight, I should say. Then starting pitchers, shortstops, center fielders. I don't think Garrett Mitchell will be in there, but never say never. Catchers, right fielders. Come on, Sal Frelick. Third baseman, relief pitchers, and then they wrap it up with first baseman. So But saw that yesterday. I'm like, okay, at least he cracked it. But I still feel it. You're telling me that Bryce Terang right now is the 10th best second baseman in Major League Baseball? I mean, no offense to the other 9 that were on there. Great guy, great players. But, I mean, you factor in defense, you factor in speed, you factor in and even some of the power and his hitting's getting better. That to me, that'd be hard not to be top 5. Top 5 with a lot of that stuff. And since we were talking about Jacob Misiorowski too, they had another piece too with the 10 players who could be the 2026 versions of 25's breakout stars. One writer did pick. This was the question here. So, who is the 2026 version of Paul Skeens? An electric rookie becoming a Cy Young ace. Jacob Misiorowski was the pick. The Miz burst out onto the scene as a rookie with his 100-mile-an-hour fastball and 95-mile-an-hour slider. His first big league season had its ups and downs, though. Miz wound up with a 4.36 ERA, but he also struck out 11.9 batters per 9 innings and turned it back on for the playoffs when he was lights out coming out of the Brewers bullpen. If there's anyone electric enough to do what Skeens just did, dominate the league, and win a Cy Young award as a sophomore, it's Misiorowski. His pure stuff is as good as anyone's, and his swing and miss and strikeout rates are already elite. There aren't a lot of starters who can routinely blow you away at 100, 101, 102 miles per hour or even faster. Yeah. No argument here. All right. Final break time. We'll make some picks as we wrap up things. We'll be back after these quick words. Of course, we're talking about Keyshawn Nixon, and what happens? I get a press release from the Packers saying Keyshawn Nixon is now in the Pro Bowl. Because, of course, there you have it. Replacing Devin Witherspoon, who is obviously going to be playing in the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. So, there you have it. Again, the Pro Bowl, I might hit this up later at another time, but the Pro Bowl is maybe one of the things in the sports world that I'm kind of sad to see how it just, kind of went down the tubes, went down the drain. I remember as a kid loving the Pro Bowl. And I could picture some trading cards that I have, football cards, where they're like the players are decked out in their Pro Bowl. I think I have a Reggie White one. And I just remember loving the Pro Bowl, watching the Pro Bowl. And to see what it's become now, like even though, let's be real, majority of the players don't respect it. They don't. I mean, I just saw Sean Merriman, former Chargers linebacker, talk about this. He had let me bring up the tweet. Let me bring it, because I have a Pro Bowl helmet that I walk by almost every day. It's signed by some of the best players in the history of the NFL, legends, Hall of Famers, and real GOATs. The Pro Bowl used to be a badge of honor and respected. Things have changed, 100%. I think for guys that maybe are well-established, guys who maybe have already been elected to Pro Bowls, it don't mean anything anymore. Younger guys, first-timers, they probably still want to just say, hey, they were elected to a Pro Bowl, or hey, it's maybe one of those that, when we go to an event or a game, it's like, yeah, I probably won't go back, but at least, I experienced it. I kind of wonder if that's the thing with the Pro Bowl now for a lot of these guys. I went 1 year, experience, don't need to do it again. Not something I need to do again. And yes, this is a should-doer thing. I know Brandon and I have always joked about doing a trivia thing. Has this quarterback been to a Pro Bowl, and like listing the best quarterbacks that have never been to a Pro Bowl, and then you compare to the quarterbacks that have been to a Pro Bowl. It's pretty funny when you look at it. But like, okay, Shadur's going to be able to say he was a Pro Bowler. One player that cannot say he was ever a Pro Bowler, even though he is a Super Bowl champ. He was a comeback player of the year. He was the Pepsi NFL Rookie of the Year, Super Bowl MVP. Like Joe Flacco's never been to the Pro Bowl. I'm just throwing out names like that. Kind of nuts. All right. Let's wrap it up with some picks. Let's start off. Let me bring up. Do we have any good college games coming up on the docket for tonight? So we've got Nebraska at Michigan. Ooh, a very good game tonight. Will Nebraska remain undefeated in conference play? Going to be at Michigan. Nebraska's ranked 5th. Michigan's ranked 3rd. Nebraska is undefeated in conference play this year. Michigan is a whopping 10.5-point favorite in this game. When is the last time? I'm sure it's happened, but this has got to be incredibly rare to see two top 5 teams playing each other, and the line is at 10.5. The line's double digits. Wow. Vegas not respecting Nebraska here? I don't know. I'm going to go Michigan, but I think Nebraska covers. Let's, what else do we got on here? Purdue at Indiana. Purdue at Indiana, that line's 5.5. Purdue wins, and I think they cover that one. Kentucky at Vandy. I'm going to go Vanderbilt. Is that about it right now? It kind of looks like, yeah. Okay, so let's move over to the NHL. We'll make some picks. We've got Nashville taking on Boston. Give me the Bruins. Buffalo at Toronto. I'm going to go with Buffalo. Vegas, Montreal. I'm going to go with the Golden Knights. Kings, Red Wings. Give me Detroit. Utah, Florida. Got to go with Florida. Winnipeg and New Jersey. I'll go with the Devils of New Jersey. Dallas taking on St. Louis. I'll go with Dallas. Chicago at Minnesota. Give me the Wild. San Jose at Vancouver. Give me San Jose. The Caps at the Kraken. I know everybody's going to go with Washington, but you know my drill. I'm going to go with the Seattle Kraken. And then finally, the NBA, where we do have the Bucks in action tonight. Obviously, no Giannis for tonight's game. But we'll start off Portland at Washington. I'll go Portland. Sacramento at the Knicks. Give me the Knicks. New Orleans at Oklahoma City. Give me the Thunder. Detroit at Denver. That could be a sneaky good one. I'm going to go Detroit. Brooklyn, Phoenix. I'll go Phoenix. Clippers, Utah. Clippers are just on this roll right now. I'm going to go with the Clippers. Milwaukee at Philadelphia. Tip times at 7. You can listen to the pregame coverage 6:30 right here on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Sixers are a 10.5-point favorite. No Giannis, no Kevin Porter Jr. Your top 2 scorers are out. I'm going with the 76ers in this game, and I do think the 76ers cover. So, all right, there's your picks for this morning. Coming up tomorrow, as we are making the turn on the week. Can you believe it already? We are going to... All right, let's do a little Am I Wrong? Think of your sports takes, your sports opinions. This is your homework assignment, okay? Think of them. You can text them whenever. I'll save them for tomorrow. Am I wrong? Am I wrong for saying the Packers should do this? Am I wrong for saying the Brewers have to go sign Suarez? Just throwing out examples, okay? Give me your best Am I Wrong? It's brought to you by Mike's Star Market. Also tomorrow, little Whiteboard Wednesday. We'll do a little Whiteboard Wednesday activities. That, you know, you can hear it, but if you want to see the whiteboard in action in my sloppy handwriting, that'll be on the video stream over on YouTube. So we'll hit all that up coming up tomorrow. We'll see if there's any more coaching movement surrounding the Packers, any more position coaches on the move and such. So if that is the case, we'll definitely be hitting that up tomorrow. But we'll talk some more baseball as we inch closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting for the Brew Crew as well. We'll talk about the Bucks game, whether it is a win or loss. We'll look ahead to the Badgers taking on the Gophers, a little border battle tomorrow too. Coming off of an exciting win by the Badgers not that long ago against the Gophers. Buzzer beater win. Badgers coming off of a loss against USC. Can they bounce back and take it to their border rival? They got to get this win. They got to bounce back and get this win at the Kohl Center. But we'll preview that coming your way tomorrow as well. And whatever the heck else you find, peeps out there, you find listeners have to say. So, again, your homework assignment, give me your best Am I Wrong? So your best sports opinions, sports takes, where you would end it saying, Am I Wrong? Have a good rest of your Tuesday. Same place, same time, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We'll see you then.